You are wasting your life, and you don't even know it. Every night you close your eyes and drift into unconsciousness. 8 hours pass, and what do you wake up to? The same problems, the same fears, the same weaknesses. But what if sleep wasn't just rest? What if it was your secret weapon for total reinvention? For centuries, the Stoics knew something we've forgotten. Your mind doesn't sleep. While your body rests, your brain is still working, processing, shaping your thoughts, reinforcing your beliefs. And right now, it's reinforcing the same self-doubt, the same bad habits, the same mental chains that are keeping you stuck. But tonight, that changes. Because in the next 3 hours, I'm going to show you how to hijack your own mind while you sleep. How to reprogram your subconscious using the forgotten Stoic techniques that built warriors, emperors, and unshakable minds. By the time you wake up tomorrow, you will not be the same person. You will be stronger, sharper, unbreakable, but only if you stay till the end, because the final technique, it will destroy your old self forever. Let's begin. Right now, you are missing out on the most powerful hours of your life. While you sleep, your brain is still working, still processing, still shaping the way you think, feel, and act. But instead of programming yourself for strength, you're reinforcing the same weaknesses, the same doubts, the same limitations that have held you back for years. This is the real reason why change feels impossible. It's not because you lack willpower. It's because every night your subconscious resets you back to your old self. No matter how hard you try during the day, your mind drags you back while you sleep. This is what we are going to change tonight. Because there is a way to hijack your sleep, to program your subconscious like an ancient Stoic warrior, and to wake up stronger, calmer, and unbreakable. The ancient Stoics understood that self-mastery is built in the quiet hours, not in moments of chaos. They knew that the mind could be trained even in rest, and they used this knowledge to forge unshakable resilience. It's time for you to do the same. The mind is constantly absorbing information, whether you realize it or not. The thoughts you allow before sleep are the thoughts your brain strengthens overnight. If you go to bed stressed, your mind will amplify that stress. If you go to bed filled with doubt, your brain will make sure that doubt feels even more real in the morning. But if you take control of what enters your mind before sleep, you take control of what gets reinforced while you rest. This is what the Stoics did. They made sure that every night their last thoughts were ones of strength, discipline, and clarity. They refused to let their minds wander into fear, regret, or uncertainty. They understood that the subconscious is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used to either build or destroy. Modern science confirms what the Stoics already knew. Your brain goes through different stages while you sleep, and one of those stages, REM sleep, is when your subconscious sorts and strengthens memories, habits, and beliefs. If you program your mind the right way before bed, you can control what gets reinforced. You can literally rewire your brain in your sleep. This means that what you do in the last 30 minutes before bed is one of the most important rituals of your life. It is the difference between waking up with doubt or waking up with certainty, between waking up tired or waking up with unstoppable momentum. The Stoics had their own method of sleep programming, one that can still be used today to build an unshakable mindset. The first step is deliberate reflection. Most people go to bed in a chaotic mental state. They replay regrets. They overthink failures. They stress about things they cannot change. This is why they wake up with anxiety instead of strength. But the Stoics did something different. Before sleep, they analyzed their day. not with guilt or emotion, but with pure logic. They reviewed their actions like a strategist reviews a battle. Seneca, one of the most disciplined Stoics in history, would ask himself every night, "What did I do well? What could I have done better? What will I change tomorrow?" This process stripped away useless emotions and replaced them with clear, rational thought. There was no room for shame, no room for regret, only lessons. And with those lessons, the mind was programmed to wake up sharper, more prepared, and less reactive. This is the first way to control your subconscious, by making sure that the last thoughts you feed it are ones of clarity, not confusion. The second step is mental rehearsal. Most people go to bed with vague hopes of a better future, but Stoics trained their minds with precise visualization. Before they slept, they would see themselves acting with strength in the face of challenges. They would rehearse moments of struggle, but instead of seeing themselves fail, they saw themselves respond with control, wisdom, and resilience. Marcus Aurelius did this every night. He imagined the difficulties he would face the next day, but instead of worrying, he trained his mind to expect them and to meet them with complete calm. His brain, in turn, adapted. By the time he woke up, he was already mentally prepared. The obstacles were no longer surprises. He had already faced them in his mind, and he had already chosen his response. This method changes everything. When your subconscious is prepared for difficulty, it doesn't react with fear. It reacts with strength. And because your mind has already rehearsed the right response, you act without hesitation. This is how discipline is forged, not by forcing yourself to be strong in the moment, but by programming yourself to be strong before the moment arrives. The third step is letting go of identity. Most people go to bed trapped in the same version of themselves. They carry the same doubts, the same story, the same labels they've lived with for years. And this is why they never change. Because every night they reinforce the idea of who they have been instead of who they could be. But the Stoics did not see identity as fixed. They understood that self-concept is fluid, that who you are today is only a result of what you believe, and that belief can be rewritten. This is why, before sleep, they practiced self-detachment. Instead of seeing themselves as a rigid, unchangeable person, they let go of their past selves entirely. They treated their identity like a tool, one that could be upgraded, reshaped, or replaced. This mindset is powerful. When you detach from your past self before sleep, your brain is forced to fill the space with something new. It begins searching for a stronger, better version of you. This is the secret to overnight transformation, not forcing change, but creating the mental space for change to happen automatically. The final step is absolute acceptance. Every night a Stoic would remind themselves, nothing is guaranteed, tomorrow is not promised. All that exists is this moment. This is not a depressing thought. It is the most freeing realization a person can have. Because when you accept that nothing is permanent, you stop holding on to things that do not serve you. You stop waking up with regret. You stop clinging to emotions that weaken you. You stop wasting energy on things that are outside your control. This is the foundation of resilience. The mind that accepts reality cannot be shaken by it. The person who fully understands that each day is a gift does not wake up with fear, but with focus. This is what happens when you program your mind the Stoic way. When you reflect with logic, your brain wakes up with clarity. When you visualize resilience, your subconscious builds it overnight. When you let go of your old identity, Your mind is forced to create a stronger one. When you accept reality fully, nothing can shake you. This is how you hijack your own mind. This is how you wake up with unshakable control over your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Most people sleep as victims, letting their past control them, reinforcing their own limitations, and waking up no stronger than the day before. But you are not most people. Tonight, you will sleep like a Stoic. And when you wake up, you will not be the same. You now understand how sleep can be used to reprogram the mind. But even if you master Stoic sleep programming, one truth remains. Transformation is not an event. It is a constant process. Most people fail to change, not because they lack knowledge or motivation, but because they cling to a fixed identity. They wake up every morning as the same person they were the day before, dragging the same fears, failures, and false beliefs with them. This is why progress feels slow. It is not because change is difficult, but because they refuse to let go of the person they were yesterday. The ancient Stoics knew that reinvention is not something that happens once in a lifetime. It is not the result of a breakthrough or a single decision. It is something that happens every morning, without exception. They treated each new day as a complete reset, a fresh opportunity to step into the strongest version of themselves. This is the art of eudaimonic reset, the practice of waking up free from yesterday's burdens, unchained from past mistakes, and ready to move forward without resistance. The past does not exist except in memory. The future is nothing but possibility. The only thing that is real is this moment, right now. Those who fail to grasp this are trapped in an endless loop, reliving the same emotions, the same doubts, and the same limitations. But those who master this mindset hold the key to rapid transformation. The way most people wake up is the first reason why they stay the same. The mind is at its most vulnerable in the first few minutes of the day. If the first thought in the morning is one of stress, worry, or hesitation, the mind sets itself on autopilot and runs the same mental programs as the day before. If the first action is grabbing a phone, checking messages, and reacting to external noise, the mind falls into reactivity and loses control. The Stoics knew that the moment of waking is sacred. It is the only time in the day where the mind is truly free, untouched by the chaos of the outside world. This is why they used it deliberately, to remind themselves that the person they were yesterday is already gone. Whatever mistakes they made, whatever challenges they faced, those belong to the past. Today, they are new. Today, they are different. To fully embrace this mindset, the first task upon waking is to strip away attachment to the past. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself each morning that nothing remains the same. The people he knew, the world around him, even his own body. Everything was constantly shifting. To cling to yesterday was to resist reality. Most people waste energy fighting change, fearing that if they let go of their old selves, they will lose their sense of identity. But the truth is the opposite. The person who clings to a fixed identity is the one who is lost. The person who allows themselves to evolve is the one who finds true strength. Waking up as a new person is not about pretending to be someone else. It is about recognizing that the mind is malleable, that behaviors are not permanent, and that the self is a collection of habits and perspectives that can be reshaped at will. The mistake most people make is thinking that transformation happens slowly over months or years. In reality, change happens the moment a person decides it is already done. The Stoics understood that time is an illusion when it comes to self-transformation. The moment a person internalizes a new way of thinking, they are already changed. What keeps people stuck is hesitation, the belief that they must first struggle before they can evolve. But struggle is optional. The only requirement for change is a choice. A key practice in the Stoic method of eudaimonic reset is breaking patterns of thought that reinforce the old self. If the first thing a person does every morning is repeat the same thoughts, say the same things, follow the same routines, then they are strengthening the identity they claim to want to escape. The Stoics would deliberately disrupt these patterns. They would remind themselves that nothing is guaranteed, that each day is an opportunity to start fresh, and that the past is no longer relevant unless they choose to make it so. One way they did this was by rejecting labels. They did not define themselves by their past achievements or failures. They didn't say, "I am this kind of person," or "I always act this way." Instead, they allowed themselves to be adaptable, to shift in whatever direction served them best. Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics practiced. The brain works on a principle called neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire itself based on repeated behaviors and thoughts. If a person wakes up every day and tells themselves they are the same as before, their brain makes sure that becomes true. But if they wake up and declare that they are different, their brain adjusts accordingly. The simplest way to accelerate change is to abandon the old narrative. Instead of reinforcing the idea that change is difficult, a person must wake up and tell themselves that change has already happened. Instead of seeing progress as a long journey, they must realize that progress is simply the decision to step into a new identity now. To master the art of eudaimonic reset, the Stoics had another powerful practice: detachment from emotion. Most people wake up with emotions left over from the previous day. They carry stress, anger, or disappointment as if those feelings are permanent. But emotions are fleeting. They only persist if they are fed. The Stoics would recognize these emotions without attachment, observing them like passing clouds instead of identifying with them. By refusing to hold on to emotions from the past, they ensured that each morning was a true reset. This allowed them to move forward without being weighed down by useless emotional baggage. A common misconception is that self-transformation requires motivation. It does not. Motivation is unreliable, and waiting for it is a form of procrastination. The Stoics did not rely on feeling inspired to change. They understood that action creates change, not emotion. This is why their method was based on consistent daily practice rather than waiting for the right mood. If a person only acts when they feel ready, they remain stuck in the same cycles forever. The fastest way to become someone new is to act as if the change has already happened. The mind does not resist what it accepts as reality. When a person acts according to their new identity, their mind quickly adapts, making that identity feel natural. Another principle of eudaimonic reset is radical ownership. Most people live their lives reacting to circumstances. They allow external events to dictate their mood, their self-perception, and their actions. The Stoics refused to let anything outside of their control shape who they were. They woke up every morning with the understanding that they were responsible for their own state of mind. They did not wait for good conditions to feel strong. They chose to be strong regardless of conditions. This is the ultimate freedom. When a person decides that their mindset is not controlled by anything external, they become untouchable. They no longer rely on validation, on luck, or on circumstances to dictate their life. They dictate it themselves. The final aspect of eudaimonic reset is embracing impermanence. Nothing lasts. Not failure, not pain, not even success. The Stoics would remind themselves of this every morning. This allowed them to move forward without fear. Most people hesitate to change because they fear loss. They fear letting go of old identities, even if those identities are harmful. But when a person fully understands that everything in life is temporary, they stop clinging, they stop hesitating, they start living, they wake up free. This is how rapid self-transformation happens, not by overthinking, not by waiting, not by believing that change takes years, but by waking up every morning with the mindset that nothing in the past matters, nothing in the future is set. The only thing that is real is the choice made in this moment. Most people wake up as prisoners of their past selves, but those who practice eudaimonic reset wake up as something new. And because they allow themselves to be new, they evolve faster than anyone else. This is why the Stoics were able to cultivate resilience, strength, and wisdom at a level that most people never reach. They did not let their past dictate their future. They did not let their identity remain fixed. They treated every morning as an opportunity to start over, to step into the best version of themselves without hesitation. Most people believe that transformation is a struggle. It is not. Struggle is only the result of resistance. The moment a person stops resisting change, change happens instantly. The Stoics understood this. They did not make change difficult. They made it effortless by aligning their minds with reality. And reality is simple. Nothing is permanent. Everything is flexible, and the person you were yesterday does not have to be the person you are today. This is the mindset that allows for unlimited growth. This is the lost art of eudaimonic reset. The ability to wake up each morning as a new person is a skill few ever master. Those who do gain the power to move forward without hesitation, without the weight of their past dragging them down. But there is a deeper level to this transformation, one that does not wait for the morning to begin. The Stoics had a practice so powerful, so radical, that it forced the mind to let go of every attachment before sleep. They called it premeditation of rebirth, a nightly ritual where they faced death in their minds, stripped away everything they thought they were, and entered sleep as if they would never wake up. Those who practiced this did not merely wake up refreshed. They woke up reborn. Most people go to sleep carrying the burden of their failures, their doubts, and their anxieties. They replay conversations, regret actions, and worry about the future. These thoughts do not disappear overnight. They take root in the subconscious and shape the person who wakes up the next morning. The mind does not reset itself unless it is given permission. The Stoics understood this. They knew that to truly transform, they had to let go of their identity completely before they slept. They did this by facing the one thing that strips all illusions away: death. Most fear death because they have not truly lived. They cling to unfinished plans, unresolved conflicts, and unspoken words. They resist the idea that everything they have built, everything they have known, could vanish in an instant. But the Stoics did not run from this truth. They embraced it. They treated each night as their last, allowing themselves to fully accept that they might never wake up. This was not a morbid thought. It was the most freeing realization a person could have, because when the mind truly accepts that life is temporary, every fear loses its power. Regret becomes meaningless. Hesitation disappears. Only what truly matters remains. To practice premeditation of rebirth, the first step is detaching from everything that was. The mind must surrender its grip on identity, possessions, and unfinished desires. Most people fall asleep with thoughts of what they wish they had done differently. The Stoics refused to allow such thoughts to follow them into sleep. They reminded themselves that the past is untouchable, that nothing they have ever done can be changed. They treated each night as a point of no return. The person they were during the day no longer existed. The version of themselves that went to sleep was not the same version that would wake up. This detachment extended beyond personal failures. The Stoics understood that even their greatest victories were temporary. No achievement, no recognition, no status was permanent. The person who goes to bed feeling successful may wake up to find that the world has moved on. To place self-worth in accomplishments is to build an identity on shifting sand. The only way to remain free is to detach from both failure and success. This was the first stage of premeditation of rebirth, the complete surrender of who they were. The second stage was embracing the void. The Stoics did not merely acknowledge death in theory. They visualized it. They lay in bed and accepted the possibility that this could be their final breath. They removed all resistance to the thought. Most people fear death because they believe they are unfinished. The Stoics removed this fear by living as if they were already complete. They did not wait for tomorrow to say the things they needed to say, to fix the things they needed to fix, to become the person they wished to be. They did it today. They lived each day so completely that if death came, there would be nothing left undone. Modern psychology supports this practice. Studies have shown that people who confront their mortality develop greater clarity, purpose, and emotional resilience. The mind shifts its priorities when it accepts that time is limited. Small worries fade. Trivial concerns lose their grip. The only things that remain are those that truly matter. The Stoics used this to their advantage. By meditating on death before sleep, they filtered out every meaningless thought, every useless emotion. What was left was only what was worth waking up for. This practice created a unique mental state, one that few ever experience. Because when a person fully embraces the possibility of not waking up, something remarkable happens. They no longer carry fear into sleep. They no longer hold on to regret. They enter rest as if stepping into the unknown, completely unburdened by what was. And if they do wake up, they are met with a realization more powerful than any other. This is a second chance. Most people wake up without gratitude because they assume they are entitled to another day. They open their eyes and fall into routine, taking their existence for granted. But the Stoic who practices premeditation of rebirth wakes up with a different mindset. They rise with the understanding that today was never promised, that the person they were yesterday is gone, that this is a fresh start, a new existence, a chance to approach life with the clarity of someone who's been given a gift they did not expect. This is the secret to rapid transformation. Most people believe they need months or years to change, but what if they treated every day as an entirely new life? What if they erased all assumptions about themselves and started fresh every morning? The Stoics did not wait for external change to dictate their growth. They forced transformation by resetting their minds every night. They did not carry burdens from one day to the next. They did not let past mistakes define future actions. They took control of their own rebirth. One of the greatest benefits of this practice is the elimination of fear. Fear thrives in attachment. It feeds on the idea that something can be lost. But the Stoic who dies before sleep has already lost everything in their mind. They have already surrendered. When they wake up, they have nothing to fear because they have already let go. This is the path to unshakable confidence. The person who has faced death in their mind does not fear failure. They do not hesitate to take action. They do not hold themselves back. They step forward without resistance. Another benefit of premeditation of rebirth is the ability to choose a new identity each morning. Most people are trapped by old versions of themselves. They wake up feeling like the same person because they never question whether they need to be. But the Stoics did not see the self as fixed. They saw it as flexible, changeable, something that could be rewritten at will. And by embracing the idea of death before sleep, they freed themselves from the limitations of past identities. They woke up with a blank slate. They did not assume they were the same person who struggled yesterday. They did not assume they had the same weaknesses. They approached the day as if they had been born anew. This practice also enhances focus. When a person treats each morning as a rebirth, distractions lose their power. There is no time to waste on meaningless activities. There is no desire to engage in things that do not contribute to growth. The Stoics lived with urgency, not the frantic, desperate urgency of those who chase success, but the calm, deliberate urgency of those who know that time is the most precious resource they have. Every action had purpose. Every thought was examined. There was no room for triviality. To live this way requires discipline, but the rewards are unparalleled. The mind that fully embraces premeditation of rebirth does not age. It does not grow stagnant. It does not cling to a single version of itself. It evolves constantly. It remains sharp, adaptive, and strong. The person who lives by this principle never falls into the illusion that they are stuck. They never wake up feeling trapped by their past. They never carry the weight of old failures. They live with a clarity that others never reach. The world is full of people trying to change, trying to improve, trying to become something greater, but they fail because they do not realize that change is not something to be chased. It is something to be allowed. The person who resists change stays the same. The person who embraces death and rebirth transforms effortlessly. This is why the Stoics were able to remain calm in the face of adversity. They had already accepted that nothing was permanent. They had already let go of everything. They had already died in their minds 1,000 times. The question is no longer whether transformation is possible. The question is whether you are willing to let go of everything you think you are before you sleep tonight. Because if you do, if you allow yourself to release every attachment, every assumption, every fear, then you will wake up tomorrow as something new. You will wake up free. Letting go of the past before sleep is the first step toward transformation. Those who master it wake up free from old limitations, ready to move forward without resistance. But the Stoics did not stop there. They understood that the mind does not stop working when the body rests. It continues processing, evaluating, and reinforcing the thoughts that dominate it. Most people allow this process to happen unconsciously, letting their worries, fears, and distractions shape their subconscious. But the Stoics used the night as a tool, a training ground for self-examination and reinvention. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, developed a nightly ritual that turned sleep into a mirror, one that reflected his strengths, weaknesses, and potential with absolute clarity. He did not allow his mind to wander aimlessly. He directed it, forcing it to focus on self-mastery. This was not just reflection. It was an active reshaping of identity. Most people reflect on their lives with judgment, reacting emotionally to their failures and shortcomings. This is why they avoid deep self-examination. They see their mistakes as proof of their limitations rather than as raw material for growth. But Seneca's method was different. He treated every failure, every moment of weakness, as an opportunity for refinement. He looked at himself not with guilt, but with precision. His goal was not self-punishment. It was self-correction. Before sleep, he would review his actions with detachment, examining them as a strategist studies a battlefield. He would ask himself, what did I do today that aligned with my principles? Where did I act out of impulse rather than reason? What moments exposed areas I need to strengthen? These questions stripped away illusion. They forced him to see himself as he truly was, without distortion. This level of self-honesty is rare. Most people avoid looking too closely at their own behaviors because it is uncomfortable. They either justify their actions or drown in self-criticism. The Stoics rejected both of these responses. They believed in pure observation. If an action was good, it was acknowledged. If it was weak, it was corrected. There was no shame, no excuses, no self-pity, only the reality of who they were and the choice to improve. This is why Seneca's nightly mirror was so powerful. It did not reinforce the ego. It dismantled it, allowing the mind to build something better in its place. This method works because the subconscious mind is highly receptive before sleep. The thoughts that dominate this period influence what the brain processes overnight. If a person goes to bed with unresolved guilt, their mind reinforces it. If they fall asleep with thoughts of weakness, those thoughts deepen. But if they use this time for deliberate self-examination, their subconscious integrates those insights. This is how character is shaped. It is not built in moments of pressure. It is forged in the quiet hours when the mind is free from distraction. Seneca did not stop at analysis. He used visualization to lock in his desired identity. Most people think about their goals passively, hoping that change will happen over time. But the Stoics knew that the mind must be trained to accept transformation as immediate. Seneca would not just reflect on his actions. He would see himself acting differently. He would mentally rehearse the way he wanted to respond in the future. If he had reacted poorly to a situation, he would replay it in his mind, adjusting his response to match his ideals. This mental exercise trained his subconscious to recognize and apply better choices. The next time he faced a similar challenge, his mind was already prepared. This method is one of the most effective tools for rewiring behavior. Neuroscience confirms that visualization strengthens neural pathways, making actions feel more natural when they occur in real life. The brain does not distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and actual events. This is why athletes, military leaders, and high performers use visualization as part of their training. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They knew that if they rehearsed the right responses before sleep, their minds would integrate those responses as instinct. This technique is not limited to correcting past mistakes. It can be used to shape an entirely new identity. Seneca would not only review his day, he would project his ideal self into the future. He did not wait for life to shape him. He shaped himself night after night, reinforcing his highest principles until they became unshakable. This practice allowed him to wake up with clarity, already aligned with the person he had decided to be. Most people rely on external events to dictate their growth. They change when circumstances force them to. But the Stoic method of nightly reflection puts control back in the individual's hands. It allows change to happen internally before the outside world has a chance to interfere. This method also prevents stagnation. Many people improve in certain areas, but then plateau, falling into patterns of complacency. They convince themselves that they have changed enough, that they no longer need to refine themselves. This is why growth slows. The Stoics had no such illusion. They treated self-improvement as an ongoing process, never reaching a point where they believed they had mastered themselves completely. Every night was an opportunity to find something new to refine. This constant sharpening of character ensured that they never became dull, never fell into the trap of believing they had arrived at their final form. One of the reasons this practice is so effective is that it forces the mind to focus on action, not just thought. Many people read, study, and reflect, but they do not apply what they learn. Their knowledge remains theoretical, disconnected from their daily life. Seneca's method bridges this gap. By analyzing the day's actions, he held himself accountable. He made sure that what he knew was reflected in what he did. If he noticed a pattern of weakness, he did not simply acknowledge it. He designed a plan to correct it and visualized himself executing that plan. This approach eliminates the common problem of repeating the same mistakes. Many people recognize their bad habits but continue them anyway. They see their flaws but do not correct them. This is because awareness alone is not enough. The brain must be conditioned to act differently. Seneca's method worked because it paired awareness with immediate mental training. He did not just recognize his weaknesses, he actively prepared his mind to handle situations better next time. This practice also cultivates inner stability. People who do not regularly examine themselves are easily shaken by external events. They react impulsively because they have not trained themselves to respond with control. Seneca's nightly mirror ensured that his emotions were not left unchecked. He reviewed moments of frustration, moments where his patience was tested, moments where his discipline wavered. He reinforced the mindset that external events held no power over him unless he allowed them to. One of the greatest benefits of this practice is that it builds self-trust. Many people struggle with confidence not because they lack ability, but because they do not fully trust themselves. They make promises to improve, but do not follow through. They know they should act differently, but fail to do so. This weakens the connection between intention and action. But the Stoic who practices nightly reflection strengthens this connection. By reviewing their day with precision and planning the next day with clarity, they train their mind to follow through on their decisions. They build the habit of discipline, which in turn builds confidence. Most people rely on motivation to change, but motivation is fleeting. It is unreliable, coming and going based on external conditions. The Stoics rejected this dependency. They relied on structure, not fleeting emotions. Seneca's nightly mirror was part of this structure. It ensured that growth was not left to chance, that self-improvement was not dependent on mood. It created a system where progress was inevitable. This method also prevents self-deception. Many people convince themselves they are improving when they are not. They focus on minor changes while ignoring deeper flaws. They highlight small successes to avoid facing larger failures. But nightly self-examination exposes the truth. It does not allow for excuses. It forces the mind to confront reality, stripping away illusions and replacing them with clarity. By practicing this technique, the mind becomes sharper, more disciplined, and more resistant to negative patterns. The person who uses it does not carry unconscious baggage into the next day. They do not wake up repeating the same thought loops as before. They wake up with a refined sense of direction, already aligned with the identity they have chosen. They shape themselves rather than being shaped by circumstance. Most people waste the hours before sleep, letting their minds wander aimlessly. They end the day in distraction, entertainment, or passive thought. They let their subconscious be filled with whatever emotions linger from the day. But the Stoics knew better. They treated this time as sacred, using it to forge the mindset they would wake up with. They did not leave self-improvement to chance.
They made it inevitable.
This is how character is built, not through occasional effort, not through bursts of motivation, but through deliberate practice. Every night, without exception, the Stoic who masters this method masters themselves. And the person who masters themselves is unstoppable. Self-examination sharpens the mind and corrects behavior, but for true transformation, something even deeper must happen. Most people try to improve by adding more knowledge, more skills, more strategies, but they never question the foundation on which all of this is built. They assume they are the same person day after day, carrying the same beliefs, the same identity, the same limitations, never realizing that the weight they bear is not necessary. They reinforce who they have always been, rather than stepping into who they could become. The mind resists change, not because it is incapable of transformation, but because it clings to an outdated self-concept. The Stoics understood this flaw, and they had a method to break free from it. They called it the empty vessel principle, the act of deliberately unlearning the self, erasing assumptions about identity, and waking up free from the burdens of the past. Most people live as if their identity is carved in stone. They define themselves by past experiences, by external labels, by old patterns that no longer serve them. They believe they must carry the person they were yesterday into today, as if it were a duty, as if changing who they are would somehow be dishonest. But the Stoics rejected this. They saw identity as fluid, something that could be shaped and reshaped at will. They knew that growth does not come from accumulating more, but from shedding what is unnecessary. The strongest mind is not the one that holds on to the most ideas. It is the one that remains adaptable, willing to be nothing in order to become anything. Letting go of identity is difficult because people confuse memories with selfhood. They believe that if they release the past, they will lose themselves. But this is an illusion. The past is gone. It doesn't exist except in thought. Clinging to it is like gripping a shadow, trying to carry something that no longer has substance. The Stoics practiced detachment because they understood that the mind is a container, and what it holds determines its weight. If the vessel is full of old beliefs, false assumptions, and rigid self-definitions, there is no space for anything new. But when it is emptied, it becomes limitless. Before sleep, the Stoics would release their attachment to who they had been that day. They did not go to bed as the same person who woke up that morning. They shed their identity like a snake sheds its skin. They understood that sleep was a reset, not just for the body, but for the mind. They saw it as a chance to dissolve all attachments, to let the self dissolve into nothingness, so that when they woke up, they could take on a new form, free from the weight of who they had been. This practice has a psychological foundation. The brain operates on patterns, reinforcing whatever it is given. If a person wakes up each day believing they are the same as before, their mind ensures that this remains true. But when they challenge this, when they consciously erase their assumptions about themselves before sleep, the brain is forced to adapt. It no longer clings to an old narrative. it becomes open to change. This is why the most rapid transformations happen when a person is willing to surrender their identity entirely. The biggest obstacle to growth is not external. It is the internal resistance to being someone new. The Stoics used this principle not only to let go of their own limitations, but to avoid being trapped by the expectations of others. Society tries to define people, to place them into fixed categories, to tell them who they are and what they can or cannot do. Most accept these labels without question, allowing them to dictate their actions, their thoughts, even their sense of worth. But the Stoics refused to be defined by anything external. They did not let past achievements define them, nor did they let failures shape their self-perception. They knew that identity is a prison when it is attached to things beyond control. This detachment from identity also eliminates fear. Most hesitation comes from the belief that one must remain consistent with who they have been. People avoid taking risks, making decisions, or pursuing change because they feel bound to a version of themselves that was created by past choices. But if identity is released, there is no longer a need to be consistent. A person who wakes up with no attachment to who they were yesterday is free to act in any way that serves them best. They are not bound by their old fears, habits, or weaknesses. They are not held back by their failures. They step into each day with a clean slate, able to shape themselves deliberately rather than repeating unconscious patterns. This practice is also the key to avoiding stagnation. Many people improve to a certain point and then stop. They reinforce the belief that they have reached their peak, that they know who they are, that they understand their limits. This mindset is the beginning of decline. The moment a person believes they are complete, they stop growing. The Stoics never allowed this to happen. They treated every day as an opportunity to start over, to question what they thought they knew, to challenge themselves to let go of any rigid self-definition. They did not build their identity on past successes or failures, but on their ability to adapt and evolve continuously. To fully embrace this principle, a person must be willing to question everything they believe about themselves. Every habit, every preference, every reaction must be examined. Many of the limitations people face are self-imposed, reinforced by unconscious acceptance of old narratives. The Stoics would deliberately confront these narratives, asking themselves, "Why do I believe this about myself? Is it true, or is it just something I've repeated so often that it feels true? What would happen if I let this belief go?" This process is uncomfortable because it shakes the foundation of self-perception, but it is also the most direct path to freedom. Unlearning the self also removes the weight of past mistakes. Many people carry guilt, regret, or shame, believing that these emotions serve a purpose. But the Stoics knew that clinging to past errors only ensures that they define the future. They did not deny responsibility, but they refused to let mistakes become part of their identity. They saw errors as moments, not definitions. They learned from them, corrected them, and then released them. The person who made the mistake no longer existed. The person who woke up the next morning was new. This mindset is also essential for those seeking to break free from cycles of self-sabotage. Many struggle to change, not because they lack ability, but because they are unconsciously committed to an old version of themselves. They believe, deep down, that they are someone who procrastinates, who lacks discipline, who cannot achieve certain things. They may try to improve, but their core identity remains unchanged, and so they always fall back into the same habits. The Stoics avoided this trap by rejecting the idea of a fixed self. They did not say, "I am this kind of person." They said, "I am whoever I decide to be today." And because they did not cling to old habits, they could change them easily. The practice of unlearning identity also increases resilience. People who are attached to a rigid self-concept suffer greatly when that concept is challenged. If they believe they are strong but face a moment of weakness, they feel lost. If they believe they are successful but experience failure, they feel broken. This is because their self-worth is tied to conditions that can change. The Stoics avoided this suffering by refusing to define themselves in such fragile terms. They were not strong or successful, they were adaptable. They knew that life would test them in different ways, and they did not fear these tests because they had no fixed identity to protect. They were fluid, able to move through adversity without resistance. At its core, the empty vessel principle is about understanding that identity is a choice. Most live as if they have no control over who they are, as if they are bound by history, circumstance, or biology. But the Stoics knew that the mind is not a static thing. It can be reshaped, reprogrammed, and redefined at will. The only requirement is the willingness to let go of what no longer serves. Before sleep, the Stoics emptied themselves of all assumptions about who they were. They did not carry titles, labels, or beliefs into the next day. They embraced nothingness, knowing that it was the only way to wake up limitless. They refused to let the past define them, and because of this, they were always free. This is why they could face any challenge, adapt to any situation, and remain unshaken by the ups and downs of life. They had already let go of everything. They had already freed themselves from the illusion of a fixed self. And when a person is truly free, there is nothing they cannot become. Letting go of identity frees the mind from unnecessary weight, but without structure, freedom can turn into aimlessness. The Stoics did not seek chaos, they sought clarity. They understood that a strong mind is not just free from the past, but also disciplined in the present. It does not wander, does not react impulsively, does not crumble under pressure. It remains steady, no matter the storm. This is why Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and the ruler of Rome, followed a precise nightly practice to condition his mind for complete control. He knew that the quality of his sleep determined the strength of his thoughts. If the mind goes to rest in disorder, it wakes up in weakness. If it enters sleep in calmness, it wakes up in command. His nighttime reflections were not just an exercise, they were a form of programming, reinforcing the thoughts and principles that made him unshakable. Most people go to bed distracted, letting their final thoughts be dictated by whatever happened during the day. They carry frustration, overthink problems, replay conflicts, and let the mind settle into patterns of stress. They hope that sleep will wipe it all away, but the subconscious does not forget so easily. The final moments before sleep set the foundation for the next day. If the last thoughts are of chaos, the mind will wake up with unrest. Marcus Aurelius did not allow this to happen. He understood that the mind must be prepared for sleep with precision. He ended each day by reinforcing his Stoic principles, filtering out all noise, and realigning himself with what truly mattered. The first step in his sleep ritual was examining his own behavior with absolute honesty. He did not wait for life to teach him lessons through suffering. He sought those lessons himself, deliberately analyzing his decisions and emotions. He did not judge himself harshly, nor did he excuse himself. He simply observed. He asked whether his actions were driven by reason or by impulse. whether he had lived according to his values or been swayed by external pressures, whether he had wasted time on trivial things or remained focused on what was meaningful. This process ensured that no mistake was repeated out of carelessness. If he had acted with anger, he would correct it. If he had let distractions steal his attention, he would recognize it. He did not allow bad habits to take root unnoticed. This level of clarity is rare because most people avoid confronting their own weaknesses. They distract themselves, justify their actions, or ignore what they do not want to face. But Marcus Aurelius knew that self-examination was the only way to ensure that each day was better than the last. He did not seek perfection, but he refused to allow himself to be controlled by mindless habits. The next step was detachment from everything beyond his control. He reminded himself that no amount of worry, anger, or frustration could change the events of the day. What was done was done. What was outside his influence was irrelevant. He released all attachment to outcomes, to opinions, to anything that did not depend on him. Most people lose peace because they carry unnecessary burdens. They obsess over things they cannot fix, people they cannot change, and situations they have no power over. This leads to exhaustion, anxiety, and distraction. Marcus Aurelius did not allow himself to be drained by such things. He conditioned his mind to let go of what didn't serve him. He knew that every moment spent resisting reality was a moment wasted. By practicing detachment before sleep, he ensured that he never woke up carrying yesterday's weight. This practice was not just about peace of mind, it was about maintaining control over himself. A person who does not let go of unnecessary burdens is easily manipulated. They react instead of responding. They let others dictate their emotions. They become prisoners of external forces. But the person who trains their mind to remain centered is untouchable. Marcus Aurelius reinforced this mindset every night, ensuring that he never lost control of his emotions, no matter what challenges he faced. Another core part of his sleep ritual was gratitude. He reminded himself of everything he had, rather than what he lacked. He trained his mind to see fortune in every situation, even in adversity. Most people focus on what they do not have, and this focus keeps them in a state of constant dissatisfaction. They chase things endlessly, believing that once they achieve them, they will finally feel complete. But this is a trap. The person who does not practice gratitude will never feel content, no matter how much they acquire. Marcus Aurelius did not leave gratitude to chance. He made it a nightly habit. He reflected on what he had learned, on the people who had helped him, on the simple fact that he was still alive and capable of thought. He knew that the ability to think clearly was the greatest gift, and he never took it for granted. This practice eliminated restlessness. It ensured that he did not wake up with a sense of lack, but with a sense of strength. In addition to gratitude, he reinforced his highest principles. He reminded himself that external events had no real power over him, that he was responsible for his own mind, that suffering came not from circumstances, but from the way one interprets them. He repeated the fundamental truths that shaped his philosophy, ensuring that they were deeply embedded in his subconscious. The mind absorbs what it is fed consistently. If a person repeats fear-based thoughts, their mind will default to fear. If they reinforce wisdom and discipline, their mind will default to strength. Marcus Aurelius took advantage of this. He did not allow his mind to be programmed by chance. He deliberately installed the thoughts that would serve him best. This is why he remained calm under pressure, why he was able to lead with wisdom even in the face of betrayal, hardship, and war. His discipline was not built in moments of crisis. It was built in the quiet moments before sleep. He made sure that his mind was prepared before he needed it. Most people only try to strengthen their mindset when they are already in difficulty. They wait until emotions take over and then try to regain control. But by then, it is too late. The time to train the mind is before it is tested. Marcus Aurelius knew this, and that is why he remained unshaken while others collapsed. Another key part of his ritual was accepting mortality. He reminded himself that he was not guaranteed another day, that his life could end at any moment. This was not a morbid thought. It was a way of sharpening his focus. Most people waste time because they assume they have plenty of it. They delay action. They postpone difficult decisions. They avoid challenges. But when a person fully understands that time is limited, they stop waiting. They stop fearing failure because they recognize that in the end, failure is insignificant compared to wasted potential. Marcus Aurelius used this reminder to ensure that he never took time for granted. When he woke up, he did not waste the day in trivial distractions. He approached life with urgency, not anxiety, but clarity. He knew that every moment was an opportunity to live according to his highest principles. This practice also made him immune to fear. A person who has already accepted death cannot be intimidated. They cannot be pressured by threats or consumed by worry. They operate on a different level, one that is free from the constraints that weaken most people. Marcus Aurelius did not just think about these things occasionally. He made them part of his nightly ritual, ensuring that they were deeply ingrained in his mind. His routine was not complicated. It was not built on external tools or rituals. It was built on consistent mental training. Every night, he examined his actions with honesty, released what was outside his control, reinforced his core principles, practiced gratitude, and reminded himself of his mortality. These simple steps, repeated over time, created an unshakable mind. They ensured that he did not wake up lost in distraction or consumed by anxiety. They made his character stronger, more disciplined, and more prepared for whatever challenges the next day would bring. This is why he was able to endure betrayal, loss, and the pressures of ruling an empire without losing himself. His mind was fortified long before it was tested. He did not wait for difficulty to train his resilience. He built it nightly, in the moments before sleep, ensuring that when he faced adversity, he met it with absolute control. Most people allow their minds to be shaped by randomness, reacting to life instead of preparing for it. But Marcus Aurelius took control. He made sure that his thoughts, emotions, and actions were aligned with his principles. This is why he remained calm while others crumbled. And this is why his sleep ritual, practiced consistently, is one of the most powerful tools for self-mastery ever created. Marcus Aurelius did not just prepare his mind for sleep, he programmed it for resilience. He trained himself to face each day with clarity, refusing to let external circumstances dictate his internal state. But even more powerful than remaining calm was his ability to see every difficulty as a tool for growth. This was not a shallow optimism or blind positivity. It was a fundamental rewiring of thought, one that ensured that no matter what happened, he could extract value from it. This was not just a philosophy, it was a mental process, one that transformed challenges into lessons and setbacks into fuel for progress. Most people approach problems as things to avoid, resist, or fear. They treat obstacles as threats to their stability rather than stepping stones to their strength. They react emotionally, seeing hardship as something unfair rather than as something inevitable and necessary for growth. The Stoics did not allow themselves to fall into this trap. They understood that the way the mind processes struggle determines whether a person becomes stronger or weaker. If the mind interprets a problem as something harmful, stress increases and resistance follows. But if the mind is trained to see every difficulty as an opportunity, suffering disappears and action takes its place. This mindset is not automatic. It must be cultivated, reinforced, and deeply embedded into the subconscious. The brain does not instinctively turn problems into opportunities. It defaults to fear, hesitation, and frustration unless it is conditioned otherwise. This is why the Stoics used sleep as a tool, not just to rest, but to rewrite the way they perceived adversity. They knew that during sleep, the mind continues to process and sort information. They use this natural function to their advantage, ensuring that while their bodies rested, their subconscious minds were being shaped for resilience. Before sleep, they focused their thoughts deliberately. They did not let their minds drift into random worries, regrets, or distractions. They directed their thinking toward strength, conditioning themselves to frame every difficulty as a lesson rather than a burden. Most people replay the worst moments of their day before they sleep, reinforcing their frustration, disappointment, and anxiety. They strengthen the emotions that weaken them, unconsciously making themselves more fragile. The Stoics did the opposite. They reviewed their struggles with purpose, extracting wisdom from every challenge. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, they asked how it made them better. Instead of focusing on frustration, they asked what the difficulty was teaching them. This practice changes everything. When a person repeatedly conditions their brain to view hardship as useful, the brain adapts. It rewires itself to see problems not as barriers, but as necessary training. Instead of resisting difficulty, the mind begins to welcome it. This is not forced positivity. It is a functional shift in thinking that eliminates hesitation and fear. The brain does not distinguish between thoughts repeated in reality and those reinforced in sleep. If a person feeds their subconscious the belief that adversity is useful, the mind accepts it as truth. The next time a challenge appears, the automatic response is not frustration, but focus. The mind does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" It asks, "How does this serve me?" This shift is the foundation of unbreakable resilience. Most people waste energy fighting problems instead of solving them. They get lost in resistance, replaying their frustration instead of moving forward. The Stoics understood that resistance was the true enemy, not the obstacle itself. They trained their minds to eliminate resistance by redefining struggle as progress. This is why they were able to remain calm in crisis. Their minds were already prepared to extract value from difficulty. They did not need to force themselves to stay composed. Their subconscious was already programmed to respond that way. Modern neuroscience confirms the power of this method. Studies show that the way the brain processes challenges during sleep affects how a person reacts to them when awake. If the mind goes to sleep focused on negativity, it reinforces stress. If it focuses on adaptation, it reinforces growth. The Stoics did not leave this to chance. They used the last moments before sleep to direct their subconscious toward power. They refused to end the day in mental weakness. They ensured that the final message their mind received was one of control, clarity, and action. This method does not require complicated rituals. It requires consistency. The mind must be conditioned repeatedly, just as a muscle is strengthened through repetition. The Stoics used simple but deliberate practices to make this rewiring process automatic. One of the most effective techniques they used was pre-sleep reflection. Instead of replaying frustrations, they reviewed the day's challenges with an analytical mind, stripping away emotion and focusing only on lessons. They asked themselves what the obstacle revealed about their weaknesses, what it taught them about their patience, discipline, or clarity. They framed each difficulty as training, reinforcing the belief that nothing was wasted. Every moment, even the painful ones, served their growth. Another technique they used was visualization. They mentally rehearsed responding to problems with composure, seeing themselves acting with strength rather than reacting with impulse. The subconscious absorbs these visualizations, embedding them into future responses. When difficulty arises, the mind has already rehearsed the correct reaction. There is no hesitation, only execution. Most people rely on willpower to stay calm in crisis, but willpower is unreliable. The Stoics relied on conditioning, ensuring that their automatic response was one of control. This approach also eliminates self-pity. Many people fall into the habit of seeing themselves as victims of their circumstances, reinforcing weakness through the way they interpret events. The Stoics never allowed this. They knew that the mind is shaped by repeated thoughts. If a person consistently sees themselves as powerless, their mind will accept it as reality. But if they repeatedly reinforce the idea that every problem is training, their mind adapts. It stops seeing hardship as unfair and starts seeing it as fuel. One of the most powerful shifts that occurs through this practice is the elimination of fear. Fear is rooted in uncertainty, in the belief that difficulty brings harm rather than strength. But when the mind is conditioned to see every problem as beneficial, fear has nowhere to exist. Challenges no longer create stress. They become neutral, even welcomed. The person who has trained their brain in this way does not hesitate. They do not waste time avoiding discomfort. They step into problems with full control, knowing that they will leave stronger than they entered. This is why the Stoics were able to navigate betrayal, loss, and hardship without breaking. Their resilience was not luck, it was not genetic, it was trained. They used every moment, including sleep, to reinforce this mindset. They did not wake up hoping for a good day. They woke up already prepared to extract value from whatever came their way. They did not seek an easy path. They sought a mind so strong that no path could shake them. This process also eliminates stress. Most stress is not caused by external events, but by internal resistance. People suffer not because of what happens to them, but because of how they interpret it. The Stoics refused to suffer over what they could not change. They trained their minds to see every setback as either solvable or unimportant. If something could be improved, they focused on the solution. If it was beyond control, they let it go. This simple but disciplined mental habit ensured that their energy was never wasted on useless worry. Another advantage of this mindset shift is the ability to recover quickly. Many people take too long to bounce back from difficulty because they waste time feeling sorry for themselves, analyzing why something happened rather than deciding how to move forward. The Stoics had no interest in dwelling on problems. They moved through them with speed, processing setbacks in real time rather than carrying them into the next day. This is why they were always able to maintain clarity. Their minds were never clogged with unresolved frustrations. They trained themselves to extract the lesson, apply it, and move forward. Most people live with unconscious patterns of resistance, reacting emotionally to problems instead of using them as opportunities. But the mind is adaptable. It can be trained. The Stoics proved that a person can reach a level of strength where nothing disturbs them, not because they avoid hardship, but because they have conditioned themselves to see it differently. They made this process automatic, ensuring that even in their sleep, their minds were being shaped for power. This is the foundation of true resilience. It is not built in moments of crisis, but in the quiet moments before. It is trained every night, reinforced in the subconscious, programmed into the very structure of thought. The Stoics didn't wait for struggle to test them. They prepared long before, making sure that when the challenge arrived, they didn't flinch. This is why they thrived in adversity while others crumbled. They had already trained their minds to make every problem an opportunity. They had already won before the battle even began. Training the mind to see every problem as an opportunity removes hesitation and weakness. It ensures that obstacles do not create resistance, but instead fuel growth. But even deeper than this transformation is the ability to harness emotions that most people fear: anxiety, stress, frustration, uncertainty, and convert them into strength. The Stoics did not just endure negative emotions, they transmuted them, turning fear into focus, turning stress into control, and turning uncertainty into power. They did this through a process of cognitive alchemy, a mental technique that rewired their subconscious overnight, ensuring that the emotions most people ran from became the very source of their resilience. Most people believe emotions are something that happened to them. They assume that anxiety, stress, and fear are forces beyond their control, things that must be endured or escaped. But the Stoics rejected this idea completely. They understood that emotions are energy, and like any energy, they can be directed, shaped, and repurposed. They knew that stress is not inherently bad. Only the way it is interpreted makes it feel overwhelming. They knew that fear is not a weakness, only a signal that can be redirected into action. They knew that uncertainty is not a problem, only a lack of clarity that can be solved with focus. Most people go to bed carrying their stress into sleep, letting their subconscious reinforce their anxieties. The brain does not stop working during rest. It continues processing, reinforcing whatever emotions were dominant before sleep. This is why so many wake up feeling drained rather than restored. They have allowed their minds to strengthen the very emotions that weaken them. The Stoics used the night deliberately, turning sleep into a tool to reshape emotions at their core, making sure that by morning, negative feelings had been converted into fuel. The first step in this transformation is detaching from emotional narratives. Most people do not just feel emotions, they build stories around them. If stress arises, they add meaning to it, convincing themselves that life is unfair, that they are overwhelmed, that their problems are unsolvable. If fear appears, they reinforce it with assumptions about failure, rejection, or loss. This attachment to interpretation is what turns emotions into suffering. The Stoics knew that an emotion by itself is neutral. It is only the meaning assigned to it that creates resistance. By stripping emotions of their stories before sleep, they ensured that the subconscious did not magnify unnecessary burdens. This detachment is not denial. It is not suppression. It is precision, the ability to see emotions as they are, without exaggeration, without unnecessary weight. This clarity prevents the mind from reinforcing emotional loops overnight. Instead of drowning in stress, the Stoic prepares the mind to convert that stress into action. Instead of fearing uncertainty, the Stoic primes the subconscious to use uncertainty as an opportunity for mental sharpening. Another key to this practice is reframing the energy of emotions. The brain does not distinguish between excitement and anxiety, between focus and stress. The physical response is the same: elevated heart rate, alertness, increased mental activity. The difference is interpretation. The Stoics understood this and used it to their advantage. Before sleep, they redirected their emotional energy by consciously shifting the purpose behind it. If anxiety was present, they framed it as preparation for a challenge rather than something to be feared. If stress was dominant, they saw it as a sign that they cared deeply about something meaningful, not as a burden. This reframing trained the subconscious to process emotions differently, ensuring that by morning, what had been seen as a negative force had become a source of focus and discipline. Modern neuroscience confirms this principle. Studies show that emotions can be reinterpreted through repeated exposure and mental training. Athletes, performers, and high-level decision-makers use this technique instinctively. What others call nervousness, they call energy. What others experience as stress, they experience as activation. The Stoics took this process to the deepest level, programming the subconscious overnight to permanently shift the way emotions were handled. Another core aspect of cognitive alchemy is activating the subconscious before sleep with targeted questions. Most people allow their last thoughts before bed to be random: worries, frustrations, meaningless distractions. But the Stoics knew that the subconscious works continuously, even during sleep, searching for solutions, integrating information, reinforcing mental frameworks. By directing the subconscious deliberately, they ensured that it worked in their favor rather than against them. Instead of asking, "Why am I so stressed?" logically they asked, "How can I use this energy wisely?" Instead of thinking, "What if I fail?" Zrenia, they framed it as, "What can I learn from this experience?" These simple shifts ensured that overnight, the brain was not feeding fear, but building strength. The power of this method comes from consistency. The brain learns through repetition. If, every night, the last thoughts before sleep reinforce fear, the subconscious strengthens that fear. If, instead, those last moments are used to redirect emotional energy, the subconscious rewires itself toward resilience. Over time, this shift becomes automatic. Stress no longer paralyzes, it focuses the mind. Anxiety no longer drains, it sharpens attention. Uncertainty no longer creates hesitation, it sparks curiosity. This is the difference between those who crumble under pressure and those who thrive in it. Most people believe emotions control them. The Stoics knew that emotions are neutral forces, capable of being repurposed toward any goal. They did not resist emotions. They harnessed them. They did not fight stress. They turned it into momentum. One of the most overlooked benefits of this practice is the elimination of mental clutter. Many people wake up exhausted, not because their bodies are tired, but because their minds have been working in overdrive, stuck in loops of worry and frustration. By practicing cognitive alchemy before sleep, the Stoics cleared out unnecessary mental noise. They trained the subconscious to resolve emotional tension, ensuring that by morning their energy was not wasted on old frustrations, but available for action and clarity. This process also develops emotional endurance. Most people see emotions as things to be avoided or numbed. The Stoics saw them as tools to be mastered. They exposed themselves to discomfort deliberately, training their minds to handle intensity without being consumed by it. This conditioning made them immune to emotional volatility. They did not suppress emotions. They dominated them by redirecting their energy toward focus and discipline. Another advantage of this method is its ability to remove hesitation and doubt. People hesitate not because they lack ability, but because they are overwhelmed by emotional resistance. The Stoics eliminated this by ensuring that before sleep, every negative feeling was processed, reframed, and converted into power. They did not wake up questioning whether they could handle a challenge. Their subconscious had already trained them to expect difficulty and to meet it with absolute composure. This mindset also eliminates the belief that external events dictate emotions. Many live as if their mood is controlled by circumstances. If the day goes well, they feel good. If it goes poorly, they feel bad. This makes them fragile, dependent on luck, controlled by forces outside themselves. The Stoics refused to live this way. They conditioned their minds nightly to be independent of circumstances, ensuring that no matter what happened the next day, their emotional state remained steady, unshaken, untouchable. This is why they were able to lead, to endure, to remain calm under extreme pressure. Their mental resilience was not an accident. It was trained. They did not leave emotions to chance. They took control before their minds had the chance to run wild. They ensured that every night their subconscious was being programmed for strength, focus, and composure. This is the highest level of mental mastery, the ability to use emotions rather than be used by them, the ability to turn fear into action, to turn stress into preparation, to turn uncertainty into strategy. This is not something achieved in a single moment. It is built deliberately every night, ensuring that when the next challenge arrives, there is no fear, no hesitation, only absolute certainty and control. Mastering emotions is only one side of self-control. The ability to transmute fear, stress, and anxiety into strength allows the mind to remain steady in adversity. But true dominance over the self requires more than just resilience. It requires a complete understanding of desire, how to control it without suppressing it, how to align it with discipline rather than letting it dictate action. Many struggle with self-control not because they lack willpower, but because they wage war against themselves, torn between the desire for pleasure and the need for structure. The Stoics and the Epicureans, two of the most influential schools of philosophy, approach the problem in opposite ways. The Stoics focused on detachment from desire, while the Epicureans sought pleasure through moderation. Most assume these two schools were entirely opposed, but the truth is that when combined, they reveal the key to total self-mastery, the balance between discipline and fulfillment. People fail to control themselves because they either overindulge or over-restrict. They swing between extremes, pursuing pleasure recklessly or depriving themselves completely, believing that self-denial is the path to strength. But both approaches are flawed. Indulgence without discipline leads to addiction, distraction, and weakness. Restriction without balance leads to frustration, burnout, and resentment. Most people live in this cycle, chasing pleasure without control and then punishing themselves with strict discipline that eventually collapses. The Stoics and Epicureans both understood that the key to control is not eliminating desire, but mastering it. Instead of rejecting pleasure, they learned to direct it. Instead of letting discipline become rigid, they made it sustainable. The Epicurean Stoic balance teaches that the mind does not need to choose between pleasure and discipline. It must integrate them. Epicurus did not promote reckless indulgence. He taught that pleasure, when pursued wisely, leads to peace, while excess leads to suffering. The Stoics took this further, recognizing that detachment from unnecessary desires increases strength. But instead of denying all pleasure, they practiced intentional enjoyment, making sure that what they pursued aligned with reason and control. They understood that true self-mastery does not come from removing desire, but from choosing it deliberately. The problem most people face is that their desires control them instead of the other way around. They eat not because they are hungry, but because the urge arises. They scroll endlessly, not because they need information, but because distraction is easy. They seek pleasure impulsively, not because it serves them, but because they have never trained themselves to question their impulses. The Stoics solved this by separating wanting from acting. They did not suppress urges, they observed them. They trained themselves to feel desire without reacting to it automatically. This simple skill creates absolute control. The person who can experience an urge without acting on it has already mastered themselves. Epicurus taught that the highest pleasure comes not from indulgence, but from freedom from craving. He did not reject pleasure. He simply understood that the less a person needs, the more powerful they become. The Stoics reinforced this by practicing voluntary discomfort. They deliberately went without luxuries to prove to themselves that they did not depend on them. This practice eliminates fear. Most people cling to their comforts because they believe losing them would make them miserable. The Stoic, having already experienced life without them, remains unshaken. This creates a paradox. By needing less, they enjoy more. They can experience pleasure without attachment because they are not ruled by it. The Epicurean Stoic balance reveals that discipline does not mean deprivation. A person does not need to reject all pleasure to be strong. They simply need to filter what they pursue. Most people chase empty pleasures, temporary highs that leave them weaker. The wise person chooses pleasures that enhance their control rather than diminish it. They do not seek excess, but they also do not fear enjoyment. This balance prevents burnout. Many who attempt strict self-denial fail because they remove all enjoyment from life, making discipline feel like suffering. But when discipline includes deliberate, controlled pleasure, it becomes effortless. It no longer feels like restriction, but like refinement, choosing only what serves the highest self. This balance also eliminates regret. Many live in cycles of indulgence and guilt, acting on impulse and then punishing themselves afterward. The Epicureans and Stoics broke this cycle by making every decision conscious. They did not simply ask, "Do I want this?" They asked, "Will this serve me?" If the answer was yes, they enjoyed it fully without guilt. If the answer was no, they walked away effortlessly. This eliminates internal conflict. There is no self-reproach because every action is chosen deliberately. This philosophy is also the key to eliminating distraction and procrastination. People struggle with focus not because they lack motivation, but because they are constantly pulled by desires they have never questioned. They do not realize that every time they give in to an impulse, they reinforce its control over them. The Stoics trained themselves to pause before action, allowing urges to arise without obeying them. This creates a reversal. Desires no longer dictate behavior. Instead, behavior dictates desires. The person who learns this skill no longer wastes time chasing meaningless entertainment, numbing themselves with excess, or escaping into pointless distractions. They remain focused, choosing only what truly matters. Another powerful effect of this mindset is that it transforms the way a person experiences pleasure. Most people seek pleasure mindlessly, consuming it in excess until it loses its value. The Stoics and Epicureans understood that pleasure is most intense when it is rare and deliberate. When a person does not indulge constantly, their appreciation for even the smallest pleasures increases. A simple meal, when eaten with full presence, becomes more satisfying than a feast consumed in excess. A moment of rest, when earned through discipline, is more fulfilling than hours of wasted leisure. This is not just a mental trick, it is a fundamental shift in perception. When pleasure is intentional, it becomes more powerful. The modern world conditions people to seek more instead of seeking better. Advertisements, social media, and consumer culture all train the mind to crave endlessly, never satisfied, always chasing. This is the reason so many feel exhausted, restless, and disconnected from purpose. The Stoics and Epicureans found the solution centuries ago: less but better. They did not chase every fleeting pleasure. They chose what to enjoy and ignored the rest. This created a life of focus, where satisfaction was not found in accumulation, but in selectivity. This balance is also the key to long-term personal transformation. Most self-improvement fails because people either push too hard or allow too much. They try to force extreme discipline only to collapse under pressure, or they allow too many distractions, making growth impossible. The Epicurean Stoic balance solves this by integrating discipline with sustainability. The mind does not fight itself. It does not reject all pleasure, nor does it indulge recklessly. It simply selects wisely. This method also makes motivation irrelevant. Most people rely on motivation to act, but motivation is inconsistent. It fades, leaving them at the mercy of their impulses. The Epicurean Stoic approach does not rely on feeling inspired. It relies on deliberate systems. If a choice is made in advance, there is no debate, no internal struggle. There is only action. This creates momentum, where self-control becomes effortless. Instead of forcing discipline, it becomes the default. By mastering this balance, life itself changes. There is no longer frustration over cravings because desires are under control. There is no longer regret over indulgence because every action is chosen consciously. There is no longer struggle between discipline and enjoyment because they are no longer separate. They work together. This is what makes the Epicurean Stoic balance the ultimate key to self-control. It is not about rejection or indulgence. It is about deliberate selection. It ensures that every moment is either building strength or increasing fulfillment, never weakening resolve, never wasting energy. It makes discipline sustainable and pleasure meaningful, creating a life that is both powerful and deeply satisfying. Mastering the balance between desire and discipline eliminates internal conflict. It allows a person to pursue what is meaningful without being ruled by cravings. But the highest level of freedom is reached not by controlling desire, but by transcending it completely. Those who operate at this level do not struggle with self-control because they have nothing to resist. They do not experience lack because they do not chase. They do not suffer from longing because they have detached from wanting itself. This is the paradox. The moment desire is abandoned, abundance is unlocked. Those who need nothing are free to experience everything. Those who let go of attachment stop being controlled by outcomes. This is not a rejection of life's pleasures. It is the ultimate way to enjoy them without dependence. Most people suffer because they believe happiness is always one step away. They convince themselves that fulfillment will come after a goal is reached, after success is achieved, after they obtain what they currently lack. But every time they reach one desire, another appears. The cycle never ends. The more they chase, the more they reinforce the belief that they are incomplete as they are. This is why even those who achieve great wealth, recognition, or power often feel empty. They have mistaken acquisition for satisfaction. The Stoics saw through this illusion. They understood that the only way to end the cycle was to step out of it entirely. Instead of chasing, they trained themselves to detach. They removed their sense of need, making them unshakable. When nothing is required for happiness, everything becomes a source of it. Letting go does not mean rejecting life's experiences. It means breaking the mental dependence on them. Most people cannot enjoy something fully because they fear losing it. They cling to relationships, possessions, and status, believing that without them they would be miserable. This creates suffering. The Stoics removed this fear by conditioning their minds to embrace impermanence. They reminded themselves that everything is borrowed: wealth, health, even life itself. Once this truth is accepted, attachment dissolves. When a person no longer fears loss, they become immune to it. This allows them to enjoy fully without anxiety, to engage without desperation, to experience without clinging. The paradox is that those who stop grasping tend to receive more. People who desperately crave approval rarely get it. Those who fear losing money often make poor financial choices. Those who obsess over success often sabotage their own progress. The more a person chases, the more they repel what they seek. But the person who is already content, who does not need more, operates from a position of power. They are not desperate, so their actions are clear and deliberate. They do not fear failure, so they take bold, calculated risks. They are not attached to validation, so they project confidence effortlessly. This is why those who master detachment often attract the very things others struggle to obtain. This is not passive resignation. It is the ultimate strategy for navigating life. The Stoics did not sit back and wait for things to happen. They acted with purpose, but they did so without attachment to outcomes. Most people hesitate to take action because they are too emotionally invested in results. They fear failure, rejection, or disappointment. This makes them cautious, reactive, and easily discouraged. But when a person no longer cares about the outcome, they move with complete freedom. They do not hesitate. They do not second-guess. They do not crumble under pressure. Their energy is focused entirely on action, not on worrying about what might happen. This is why they succeed where others hesitate. Letting go of desire also eliminates the illusion of control. Many people suffer because they believe they can force reality to conform to their wishes. They expect others to act a certain way. They demand that life unfold according to their plans. When reality does not cooperate, they feel frustrated, betrayed, or defeated. The Stoics never fell into this trap. They understood that control is an illusion, that the only thing truly within their power was their own mind. By focusing only on what they could influence, their actions, their perceptions, their decisions, they avoided the frustration that plagues so many. Another benefit of releasing desire is the ability to live fully in the present. Most people are mentally trapped in the future, always reaching for something beyond the moment. This creates a constant sense of waiting. Waiting for success, waiting for recognition, waiting for the next achievement to bring happiness. But those who release attachment to outcomes experience something different: deep presence. They do not postpone enjoyment, nor do they dwell on what is missing. Every moment becomes enough because they are not looking for more. This makes even simple experiences profoundly satisfying. This shift also creates unshakable emotional stability. People who rely on external achievements for their sense of worth are easily disturbed. When things go well, they feel high. When things go wrong, they spiral into doubt. Their emotions are dictated by external forces, leaving them vulnerable to stress, fear, and insecurity. But those who have detached from needing anything outside themselves remain unaffected. They may prefer a certain outcome, but they do not require it. They operate with calmness, whether things go their way or not. This is what makes them resilient under pressure. One of the most misunderstood aspects of detachment is that people assume it makes life less meaningful. They fear that if they stop chasing goals, they will lose motivation. But the reality is the opposite. The person who needs nothing is free to pursue everything without pressure, fear, or self-doubt. They take action purely for the sake of action, not for external validation. This makes them more consistent, more creative, and more capable of reaching their highest potential. This approach also strengthens relationships. Many people destroy connections because they hold on too tightly. They seek constant reassurance, demand control, and react emotionally to small things. This suffocates relationships, creating tension and insecurity. But those who do not cling to others allow relationships to flourish naturally. They do not demand love. They give it freely. They do not fear loss. They embrace connection without dependency. This makes them more attractive, more magnetic, and more enjoyable to be around. Another advantage of this mindset is the elimination of regret. Most people look back on life with what-ifs, wishing they had done things differently, holding on to past mistakes. But those who let go of attachment also let go of regret. They understand that every moment was necessary, every mistake was a lesson, and every loss was part of the process. They do not dwell on what could have been. They focus entirely on what is now. This philosophy also removes fear of the future. Many live in a state of anxiety about what might happen: financial uncertainty, career instability, personal loss. But when a person trains their mind to desire nothing, they stop fearing the unknown. They know that whatever comes, they will remain the same, untouched by external shifts. This makes them fearless in decision-making, unafraid to take risks, and unbothered by uncertainty. This approach also simplifies life. Many complicate their existence with unnecessary attachments, accumulating things they do not need, worrying about problems that do not matter. The Stoics removed all mental and physical clutter. They did not chase more, they focused only on what was essential. This freed their minds, giving them more energy, more clarity, and more time to focus on what truly mattered. Those who let go of desire experience abundance without effort. They do not hoard or obsess over acquiring more, yet they seem to have everything they need. They do not force success, yet they find themselves in positions of influence. They do not crave fulfillment, yet they are more content than those who spend their lives chasing it. This is the paradox. The more a person needs, the more they suffer. The less they need, the more they receive. This is the secret that few understand. The person who lets go of wanting more wakes up feeling complete. They do not need validation, yet they are respected. They do not seek wealth, yet they manage it wisely. They do not chase happiness, yet they experience it deeply. Their mind is clear, their emotions are stable, their actions are effortless. They do not live in lack because they do not perceive anything as missing. This is what it means to desire nothing and have everything. It is not a trick or a temporary state. It is a fundamental rewiring of the mind. It is what makes the difference between those who chase endlessly and those who live fully. And once mastered, life is never the same again. Letting go of desire brings a rare kind of freedom. The mind no longer clings to expectations, no longer reacts emotionally to gains or losses, no longer seeks approval or validation. This level of detachment creates clarity, but it also reveals a deeper truth. Real transformation happens quietly. Those who change themselves radically do not announce it. They do not seek permission. They do not ask for recognition. They become different before anyone realizes what has happened. This is the essence of the invisible Stoic, the art of self-reinvention without resistance, without attracting attention, without giving the world a chance to hold you back. Most people fail to change because they make their intentions public. They declare their goals. They seek validation. They wait for others to support their growth. But when people know you are changing, they resist. They expect you to stay the same. They remind you of who you were. They question your new choices. Even well-meaning friends and family subtly discourage transformation because it disrupts the stability of their perception. This is why most efforts to improve collapse before they take root. The invisible Stoic avoids this entirely. They do not talk about becoming stronger. They become stronger. They do not seek approval before making changes. They make the changes silently. By the time the world notices, it is already too late. The transformation is complete. The mistake most make is assuming they need external validation to change. They seek motivation from others, waiting for encouragement before taking action. But the strongest changes happen in silence. They happen when no one is watching, when no one is waiting, when no one is interfering. The invisible Stoic does not need to explain themselves. They understand that real power comes from self-contained transformation, change that is not dependent on outside forces. People resist new versions of others because it forces them to question their own stagnation. When someone witnesses transformation, they instinctively compare it to themselves. If they are not changing, they feel threatened. This is why sudden improvement often attracts negativity, skepticism, doubt, even subtle attempts to pull a person back into old patterns. The invisible Stoic avoids this completely. They move in the shadows, refining their mind, strengthening their discipline, sharpening their actions, all without external interference. One of the key strategies of invisible transformation is gradual change without announcement. People expect drastic shifts to be noticeable. They react to sudden changes, but slow, unspoken improvement goes unnoticed. The invisible Stoic applies this method by refining themselves in small, consistent steps, developing discipline in isolation, sharpening skills privately, eliminating weaknesses without seeking recognition. This approach bypasses resistance entirely. When the world finally sees the transformation, there is no room for doubt because it has already become reality. Silence is a weapon in self-reinvention. The more a person talks about change, the less energy they have to execute it. The invisible Stoic directs all effort into action, not words. They do not explain their goals. They do not argue about their choices. They do not seek agreement. They simply become different. This eliminates distractions, allowing them to focus entirely on results rather than reactions. Another element of this strategy is detaching from external expectations. Most people struggle to transform because they feel obligated to maintain their past identity. They stay the same because others expect them to. They fear judgment, criticism, or rejection. The invisible Stoic removes this limitation by no longer caring how they are perceived. They do not act for approval, they act for mastery. This mindset removes hesitation, allowing continuous evolution without self-doubt. This approach also prevents sabotage. Many fail to improve, not because they lack discipline, but because their environment subtly pulls them back. Friends, family, and even society enforce unspoken rules, encouraging conformity. The invisible Stoic bypasses this by keeping their transformation hidden until it is irreversible. No one can stop a change they do not see happening. By the time they notice, the foundation is too strong to be undone. The most powerful transformations do not require permission. Many hesitate to improve because they fear how others will react. They delay action, waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right support. But the invisible Stoic does not ask for approval. They take control immediately. They do not wait for an ideal moment. They create the conditions for change by acting without hesitation. Discipline in secrecy builds true strength. When effort is unseen, it is protected from interference. The invisible Stoic trains in solitude, masters their emotions without performance, strengthens their willpower without seeking applause. This internal fortification makes their growth unshakable. Those who improve publicly are vulnerable to external forces, criticism, doubt, expectations. But those who refine themselves in silence become immune to outside influence. The ability to transform invisibly also grants a psychological advantage. When a person announces change, they create pressure. They expose their goals to scrutiny. They invite opinions, expectations, and resistance. But the invisible Stoic avoids this trap. They move quietly, working beneath the surface, ensuring that by the time their strength is revealed, no one can stop them. They do not waste energy defending their choices. They let their results speak for themselves. This method also enhances self-trust. Many rely on external motivation, seeking reassurance before they commit to action. But the invisible Stoic builds confidence by relying only on themselves. They do not need applause to know they are improving. They do not require validation to continue. This makes their progress permanent because it is not dependent on anything external. An unexpected benefit of this approach is that it makes transformation effortless. Many struggle with change because they make it too visible, inviting resistance before they are ready. The invisible Stoic removes this friction by eliminating all unnecessary battles. They do not argue about their evolution. They do not defend their decisions. They simply improve without interference. This allows for continuous progress without interruption. Another key element is controlling perception strategically. The invisible Stoic does not need to broadcast change, but they also do not need to suppress it completely. They understand that perception can be shaped subtly. They refine their presence without forcing it. They let others notice on their own, creating intrigue instead of resistance. This builds quiet influence, where their transformation is undeniable but never confrontational. The world is resistant to sudden shifts, but respects unquestionable progress. When improvement happens gradually and silently, it becomes undeniable. The invisible Stoic lets results accumulate until there is no room for skepticism. This method creates an unshakable foundation. No one can deny what has already been done. This approach also prevents emotional setbacks. Many people quit self-improvement because they seek external encouragement and do not receive it. They expect recognition, and when it does not come, they lose motivation. The invisible Stoic eliminates this weakness by expecting nothing. They are not driven by external rewards. They improve for their own mastery. This makes their progress independent of praise or criticism. This strategy also applies to relationships. Many seek approval in social circles before making personal changes, fearing rejection. But the invisible Stoic does not ask whether their growth is acceptable to others. They become the best version of themselves first and let the world adjust afterward. This removes the fear of outgrowing people, of leaving behind outdated connections. Those who evolve silently attract those who align with their new path, without unnecessary friction. The ability to transform without external resistance is one of the rarest skills. Most people expose their intentions too early, inviting obstacles before they are ready to withstand them. The invisible Stoic sidesteps this entirely. They become before they are seen. They act without hesitation. They refine themselves without validation. And by the time the world realizes what has happened, they have already won. This is the secret to strategic reinvention. It is not about waiting for approval. It is not about forcing change onto others. It is about mastering transformation in silence, allowing progress to become so undeniable that by the time anyone notices, there is nothing they can do to stop it. The invisible Stoic does not talk about becoming stronger. They become stronger, and when the world finally sees it, it is already too late. Transforming in silence ensures that external forces do not interfere with personal evolution. It allows mastery to develop without resistance, without unnecessary attention, and without the weight of expectations. But no one exists in isolation. Even the strongest, most independent mind must navigate relationships, alliances, and social interactions. The way a person connects with others determines the trajectory of their growth. The mistake most make is believing they must chase relationships, seek validation, or control the way others perceive them. But the Stoics saw a different path, one of absolute acceptance. They understood that the best relationships are not forced, but aligned. They did not manipulate social connections. They attracted the right people naturally by fully embracing who they were and what fate placed before them. This is amor fati networking, the ability to build relationships not through effort, but through an unshakable acceptance of what is meant to be. Most struggle in relationships because they resist what is unfolding. They chase people who do not align with them, forcing connections that are not natural. They fear being alone, so they compromise themselves to fit into groups that do not reflect their highest potential. They seek approval, hoping to be chosen rather than realizing that the strongest relationships happen when two paths naturally intersect. The Stoics removed this struggle by mastering detachment from forced connections. They did not fight for relationships that were not meant to last. They did not attempt to change others or demand loyalty from those who did not freely give it. They understood that people enter and exit life as they are meant to, and their role was not to control it, but to accept it fully. This mindset eliminates desperation. Many act from social fear, afraid of rejection, craving attention, seeking belonging at any cost. But the person who embraces fate is not needy. They do not depend on validation. They do not fear losing people. This makes them attractive on a deep level. Others sense the absence of fear, the quiet confidence of someone who is whole without external approval. Those who chase others are often ignored. Those who stand firm in who they are draw people toward them effortlessly. Amor fati. Networking works because it aligns personal growth with the natural flow of connection. Instead of trying to fit into circles that do not serve them, those who embrace this philosophy allow the right people to come to them. They focus entirely on becoming the highest version of themselves, trusting that those meant to walk alongside them will appear without force. This removes manipulation. Many try to gain influence by crafting an image, by saying what they think others want to hear, by adjusting themselves to be accepted. But the Stoics had no interest in approval. They focused only on truth, on living with such alignment that only those who resonated with their path remained. This mindset also prevents wasted time. Many invest in relationships that drain them, engaging with people who do not elevate them, forcing bonds that serve no higher purpose. The Stoic approach eliminates this struggle. It is not about cutting people off emotionally, it is about seeing clearly. If a connection is forced, if it demands compromise of core values, if it creates more distraction than strength, it is not meant to remain. There's no need for anger, resentment, or regret. There is only acceptance. When a person stops fighting for what is unnatural, energy is redirected toward what is meant to be. This way of networking also removes the fear of loss. Many suffer because they hold on to relationships long after they have served their purpose. They refuse to let go, believing that closeness must be preserved at all costs. But the Stoics understood that every person plays a role in a specific chapter of life. Some are meant to walk with us for years. Others are meant to cross paths briefly, leaving behind lessons before moving on. Resisting this natural rhythm leads to suffering. Accepting it leads to peace. Another benefit of this approach is effortless influence. People are drawn to those who exude inner stability. The person who is unshaken by rejection, who is unbothered by changing social dynamics, who does not need anything from anyone, possesses a rare kind of power. They do not manipulate others, yet they are respected. They do not demand loyalty, yet they receive it. This happens because true influence does not come from force. It comes from being unmovable in one's own identity. The more a person embodies their highest values, the more others naturally gravitate toward them. This mindset also changes the way one views conflict. Many people fear disagreements, believing they must maintain harmony at all costs. They avoid speaking their truth. They soften their opinions. They compromise their values for the sake of belonging. The Stoic approach removes this fear completely. They do not seek confrontation, but they do not avoid it either. They state their beliefs clearly, without aggression and without apology. If this creates distance in relationships, they accept it as necessary. If it strengthens bonds, they accept that as well. Either way, they remain unchanged. Another overlooked aspect of Amor Fati networking is its ability to attract allies without effort. Many believe that networking requires active strategy, attending events, making connections, forcing introductions. But the Stoic method works in reverse. When a person fully commits to their principles, their presence alone does the work. The right people recognize something in them, strength, clarity, independence, and are drawn naturally. There is no need to chase connections when alignment attracts them. This also applies to mentorship and leadership. Those who force authority, who seek to command respect, who demand obedience, often struggle to gain influence. But those who lead by example, who embody their philosophy without needing to announce it, create lasting impact. The Stoic leader does not need a title. They do not need external validation. Their discipline, their wisdom, their consistency speaks louder than any words. People follow them not because they were persuaded, but because they recognize authenticity. This way of networking also reduces emotional exhaustion. Many suffer from social fatigue because they invest in relationships that do not serve them, engaging in endless interactions that bring no real connection. The Stoic approach filters out noise. It does not seek quantity, it seeks alignment. A few deeply aligned connections are worth more than 100 shallow ones. The person who embraces amor fati no longer wastes time in meaningless social interactions. They do not chase acquaintances for the sake of appearances. They allow fate to place the right people in their path, trusting that when they focus on their own mastery, the right relationships will emerge naturally. This philosophy also removes resentment and bitterness. Many people carry grudges, holding on to anger over relationships that ended, betrayals that occurred, or loyalties that faded. The Stoic does not suffer in this way. They recognize that everyone acts according to their nature. If someone leaves, if trust is broken, if expectations are not met, it is not a personal attack. It is simply reality unfolding as it must. This level of acceptance makes them untouchable. They do not waste energy on past connections. They release what is gone and focus entirely on what remains. This mindset also creates an unshakable social foundation. Those who build relationships based on need often find themselves surrounded by people who weaken them, but those who build relationships based on alignment find themselves connected to those who elevate them. This is why amor fati networking is so powerful. It ensures that only the strongest, most meaningful connections survive. It does not force closeness. It reveals who is meant to stay. The final and most profound impact of this philosophy is absolute freedom. When a person no longer chases approval, no longer fears rejection, no longer forces connections, they move through life with a rare kind of peace. They don't wonder whether they are liked. They don't attempt to control relationships. They don't need to manipulate situations to feel secure. They simply exist as they are and let the right people align with them naturally. This is the power of amor fati networking. It is not about seeking, it is about allowing. It is not about forcing, it is about accepting. It removes all struggle from relationships, leaving only what is meant to be. And in doing so, it creates connections that are not fragile, not based on need, not dependent on approval, but built on something unbreakable, absolute alignment with fate itself. Building relationships through amor fati networking removes struggle from social connections. It ensures that only the right people remain, that there is no force, no chasing, no unnecessary effort. But even the strongest networks cannot prevent conflict, betrayal, or external judgment. The world is unpredictable. People are unreliable. Society moves in ways that cannot be controlled. Many suffer not because of what happens to them, but because of how they allow external forces to affect their peace. The Stoics saw through this. They knew that the greatest defense is not avoiding harm, but becoming immune to it. They built something stronger than walls, stronger than revenge, stronger than any attempt to resist external attacks. They built the Stoic energy shield, a mindset so unshakable that no criticism, no betrayal, and no social chaos could penetrate it. Most people live in reaction mode. Their emotions are dictated by how others treat them, by the words spoken about them, by the approval or disapproval of those around them. They internalize insults. They obsess over betrayals. They allow external opinions to shape their self-worth. This makes them vulnerable, controlled by forces outside of themselves. The Stoic approach removes this weakness completely. It does not fight against criticism. It does not seek revenge for betrayal. It does not attempt to control the social landscape. It does something far more powerful. It renders external forces meaningless. Criticism only affects those who believe it. Many feel hurt when they are insulted, not because the words have power, but because a part of them agrees with the insult. If someone calls a person weak and they react with anger, it is because they fear it is true. If they were truly strong, the words would not matter. The Stoic energy shield is built by removing all hidden insecurities, by eliminating every weakness that external forces could target. The less doubt a person has about themselves, the less power others have over them. Betrayal only causes suffering when there is attachment to expectation. Many struggle with disloyalty because they assume that others will act with honor. They place their trust in people blindly, believing that fairness, honesty, and integrity are guaranteed. But the Stoic understands that human nature is unpredictable. No one is truly owed loyalty. No one is immune to selfishness. This is not cynicism, it is clarity. Those who expect betrayal are never surprised by it. Those who accept human imperfection are never broken by it. The Stoic energy shield does not mean avoiding trust. It means trusting with full awareness that anything can happen and remaining unshaken if it does. Social chaos affects those who seek stability outside of themselves. Many struggle because they rely on external structures, governments, institutions, reputations, or social approval to feel secure. When these things collapse, they panic, they lose direction, they feel lost. The Stoic solution is to place security in what cannot be taken away: the mind, the principles that guide it, the ability to adapt, to think clearly, to remain composed no matter what shifts in the external world. Those who build their stability on things beyond their control will always be at risk. But those who anchor themselves internally are untouchable. Building this mental armor requires training. Most people try to defend themselves after an attack, reacting to insults, betrayal, or uncertainty only when it arrives. This is a mistake. The Stoic energy shield is built before the storm. It is prepared long before external forces attempt to shake it. This is why the strongest minds are calm in chaos. They have already trained for it. They have already faced their worst fears in their own minds. They have already eliminated every internal weakness that could be exploited. One of the key ways to reinforce this shield is through radical self-honesty. Many are easily hurt because they avoid confronting their own flaws. They suppress insecurities, pretend they do not exist, and become fragile when those weaknesses are exposed. The Stoic approach is the opposite. It seeks out every potential weakness before anyone else can find it. It forces self-examination so complete that no insult can reveal anything new. When a person knows themselves fully, there is nothing anyone can say that will shake them. No hidden truth exists that can be exposed. This makes them immune to psychological attacks. Another critical element is indifference to external approval. Many suffer because they still crave validation. Even those who appear independent often still seek recognition in subtle ways, adjusting their behavior to gain respect, admiration, or acceptance. The Stoic energy shield removes this completely. It does not reject approval, it simply does not need it. The person who operates from this mindset is free from manipulation. They do not adjust themselves to please others. They do not hesitate to act because they fear judgment. They do not change direction based on public perception. This makes them impossible to control. This mindset also eliminates the fear of reputation damage. Many avoid taking bold action because they are afraid of how they will be perceived. They stay silent to avoid criticism. They conform to avoid conflict. But the Stoic solution is simple. Act with integrity and let the world react however it chooses. Those who are true to themselves do not worry about opinions because they already know they are aligned with their principles. The weak seek approval. The strong act regardless of it. This level of detachment also removes the pain of false accusations. Many suffer when they are misunderstood, misrepresented, or unfairly judged. They waste energy defending themselves against lies, trying to correct the perception of others. The Stoic energy shield prevents this waste. It recognizes that the opinions of others are outside of control. Defending against lies gives them power. Ignoring them removes their strength. The person who remains calm when falsely accused possesses an aura of undeniable strength. They do not react because they do not need to. The truth will reveal itself in time, and if it does not, it does not matter. This approach also neutralizes social betrayal. Many feel broken when someone close to them turns against them, when trust is violated, when loyalty is shattered. But the Stoic energy shield does not place emotional stability in the hands of others. It expects nothing, depends on nothing, and is prepared for every outcome. Those who betray others reveal their own character. It is not a reflection of the one betrayed. The Stoic response is not anger, not revenge, not emotional collapse. It is acceptance, indifference, and continued forward motion. One of the greatest advantages of this shield is the ability to remain calm under direct attack. Most people, when criticized, react with defensiveness or aggression. They attempt to prove themselves, to fight back, to justify their position. This reveals insecurity. The Stoic energy shield does not engage in pointless battles. It does not respond emotionally. It does not seek to win arguments, because the truly strong have nothing to prove. The less a person reacts, the more powerful they appear. The more control they maintain, the more dominant their presence becomes. This mindset also eliminates wasted energy on social chaos. Many get lost in the noise of gossip, controversy, and meaningless debate. They react to every shift in opinion, every conflict, every moment of drama. But the Stoic approach filters out everything irrelevant. It is ruthless in its focus, ignoring distractions, engaging only in what matters. This allows full energy to be directed toward mastery rather than being drained by triviality. At its highest level, the Stoic energy shield creates a presence so unshakable that it becomes intimidating. Those who operate at this level do not need to assert dominance. Their mere absence of reaction makes them powerful. They do not seek control, yet they have it. They do not demand respect, yet they receive it. They do not fight, yet they always win, because they refuse to engage in meaningless battles. This is why the Stoics were untouchable. They did not seek revenge because they did not feel wronged. They did not fear betrayal because they expected nothing. They did not crumble under criticism because they knew who they were. Their strength was built long before it was tested. They did not need external stability because they had already built something stronger, a mind that nothing could break. The world does not stop attacking. People do not stop judging. Society does not stop shifting. But none of it matters to the one who has mastered the Stoic energy shield. The one who stands untouchable, immune to criticism, indifferent to betrayal, unshaken by social chaos. The one who has already won, because they have made themselves impossible to destroy. Becoming immune to criticism, betrayal, and social chaos creates a foundation of mental strength. It ensures that external forces do not shake personal stability, that no attack can weaken focus, that no opinion holds power over self-worth. But resilience alone is not enough. The next step is cultivating a presence that does not just withstand the world's challenges, but commands respect within them. The mistake many make is believing confidence comes from external validation, from proving worth, from displaying dominance. But true power does not require effort. It does not seek approval. It does not demand attention. It simply exists. The most influential people do not need to speak loudly, do not need to boast, do not need to force others to recognize them. Their presence alone is enough. Their energy is unshakable. Their confidence is not arrogance, but a quiet certainty that radiates without effort. This is the unassailable aura, a force that draws respect without needing to ask for it, a presence that is felt before a word is spoken. The Stoics mastered this, understanding that the greatest power does not come from external displays, but from internal detachment. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many associate it with dominance, with an outward projection of strength, with an attempt to appear impressive. But this is performance, not true confidence. The person who needs to show power does not actually have it. The person who is powerful has nothing to prove. They do not seek validation. They do not need to be acknowledged. They are already secure within themselves. This is what makes them impossible to ignore. Arrogance is rooted in insecurity. It is an attempt to force respect rather than attract it naturally. It is fragile because it depends on external reinforcement. If ignored, the arrogant person feels diminished. If challenged, they react emotionally. But true confidence is different. It does not crumble under opposition. It does not react when provoked. It does not fluctuate based on how others perceive it. The person who has mastered internal detachment remains the same, whether praised or criticized, whether admired or ignored. This consistency makes them untouchable. The key to developing this aura is eliminating all need for approval. Most people adjust themselves based on how they are perceived. They alter their tone, their posture, their words to fit expectations. This makes them weak because they are dependent on external validation. The Stoic approach removes this completely. It creates a presence that is powerful precisely because it does not ask to be accepted. The more a person detaches from opinion, the more naturally they command respect. This presence is built through mental discipline. Those who lack control over their emotions, their words, their reactions, lose power without realizing it. The Stoics cultivated a presence that was unshakable because they mastered themselves first. The less a person is ruled by impulses, the more composed they appear. The more composed they appear, the more dominant their presence becomes. Another essential aspect of this aura is stillness. Most people are reactive. They speak too quickly. They seek to fill silence. They rush to assert themselves. But the most powerful individuals are deliberate. They are measured in their words, controlled in their actions, calm even when challenged. This stillness projects certainty. It signals that nothing can shake them, that they are so internally stable that they do not need to prove anything. This confidence also requires emotional neutrality. Many are controlled by their feelings, anger, frustration, the need to defend themselves. This weakens their presence because it shows attachment to external forces. The Stoic approach eliminates this by ensuring that emotions do not dictate behavior. The person who remains steady, no matter the situation, radiates a quiet power that others instinctively recognize. Another component of this presence is removing excess ego. Many assume that projecting confidence requires an inflated sense of self, an exaggeration of abilities. But this is counterproductive. The Stoic does not need to become larger than life. They need only remove everything unnecessary. They do not speak to impress. They do not overcompensate. They do not try to be more than they are. They are comfortable in their own presence, and this lack of effort is what makes them powerful. This mindset also changes the way a person walks into a room. Many seek attention, hoping to be noticed, but the most respected individuals do not seek recognition. They allow it to come naturally. They enter spaces with a presence that is undeniable, not because they announce themselves, but because their energy is undeniable. Their lack of need for approval makes them magnetic. The ability to project this presence also requires precision in speech. The more a person talks, the more they weaken their authority. Those who are careful with their words, who speak only when necessary, who avoid unnecessary explanations, hold more power. The Stoics understood that words should be used with purpose, not wasted for validation. The person who does not rush to speak, who does not explain themselves unnecessarily, who does not feel the need to fill space with noise, controls the interaction. This kind of confidence also creates a subtle but undeniable influence. People are drawn to those who do not seek approval, who do not react emotionally, who are completely at peace within themselves. This makes the unassailable aura a source of leadership. It commands respect, not through force, but through presence alone. Those who embody it do not need to convince others of their strength. They simply live it. This approach also eliminates the fear of competition. Many are insecure because they see others as threats, as rivals to their own significance. But the Stoic does not compare themselves to others. They do not feel the need to outshine anyone. They are content in their own growth, their own mastery, their own evolution. This removes envy, removes jealousy, removes the need to compete for attention. The person who is at peace within themselves is the one who naturally rises above the rest. Another key element of this presence is consistency. Many people shift their energy based on circumstances, acting confident in some settings but uncertain in others. This inconsistency weakens them. The Stoic aura is unchanging. It does not depend on the environment. It does not fluctuate based on external validation. It remains the same whether facing praise or criticism, whether standing before allies or enemies. This predictability makes it powerful. Others know they cannot shake it. This mindset also strengthens decision-making. Many hesitate, seeking reassurance, afraid of making mistakes. But the unassailable aura does not hesitate. It does not seek external confirmation. It does not fear being wrong. It acts decisively, accepting whatever consequences arise. This certainty makes people instinctively trust it. Those who appear unsure, who second-guess, who need validation before acting, lose influence. The Stoic is different. They decide and move forward without hesitation. This approach also removes the need to respond to every challenge. Many believe they must always assert themselves, always fight back, always prove their strength. But the most powerful individuals do not waste energy on meaningless battles. They do not argue over small matters. They do not react to every provocation. They are selective in their engagements. This control makes them dominant. At its highest level, this aura creates an undeniable authority. It does not need permission. It does not require effort. It is simply recognized. Those who cultivate it do not need to seek influence. They do not need to ask for respect. They have already secured it through their presence alone. This is the unassailable aura of confidence. It is not loud. It does not seek attention. It does not need external validation. It is built on absolute detachment from the opinions of others, on complete mastery of the self, on an internal stability that no force can shake. It does not rise and fall with circumstances. It does not demand recognition. It simply is, and that is why it commands power. Confidence without arrogance creates an unshakable presence. It ensures that respect is commanded without force, that power is recognized without being demanded, that influence is exerted without words needing to be spoken. But the next level of mastery lies in restraint, not just in emotion, but in speech, in action, in expression. Those who speak impulsively give away their strength. Those who reveal too much make themselves vulnerable. The greatest power is not in what is said, but in what is withheld. Most people talk too much. They explain themselves unnecessarily. They defend their opinions aggressively. They seek validation through words. They believe that influence comes from speaking often and being heard. But the Stoics understood that true impact comes from strategic silence. Those who know when to hold their tongue, when to withhold their thoughts, and when to let others reveal themselves, gain control over every interaction. The more one speaks, the more they give away. The more they withhold, the more leverage they maintain. Restraint in speech is a weapon. It forces others to wonder rather than assume. It creates mystery where others are predictable. It removes the need for justification, proving authority not through explanation, but through certainty. Most speak to fill space, to escape discomfort, to convince others of their worth. The Stoic does not. They say only what is necessary, nothing more. This makes every word carry weight. When they do speak, others listen. Those who master the art of withholding do not explain themselves unless required. They do not feel the need to respond to every accusation, to correct every misunderstanding, to argue every point. They understand that the more one explains, the more power they hand over. When a person speaks defensively, they admit weakness. When they over-explain, they reveal insecurity. The one who remains silent holds control. Withholding also prevents misinterpretation. The more details a person shares, the more opportunities others have to twist their words, to analyze their intentions, to use their own speech against them. The Stoics understood that what is left unsaid is just as powerful as what is spoken. Those who reveal only what is necessary cannot be manipulated. They cannot be used against themselves. They cannot be led into traps of persuasion. Another benefit of this approach is the ability to maintain emotional control. Many people talk excessively when they are nervous, when they feel pressured, when they are uncertain. This reveals too much. It exposes doubts. The Stoic remains silent in these moments, giving nothing away. This makes them unreadable, impossible to predict, impossible to weaken. Mastering this restraint also changes how others perceive a person. Those who speak less are naturally assumed to know more. Silence creates the illusion of wisdom. People assume that someone who does not rush to speak must be choosing their words carefully, must have deeper insight, must be worth listening to. This creates a presence that commands respect without effort. This ability is also a shield against conflict. Many arguments escalate because one person refuses to stop talking, insists on having the last word, feels the need to prove themselves. The Stoic avoids this trap completely. They do not engage in unnecessary battles of words. They understand that silence is often the most powerful response. It does not give the opponent anything to grasp onto. It does not escalate tension. It does not provide an opportunity for attack. Restraint in action is just as important as restraint in speech. Many people overreact, make rash decisions, and allow their emotions to dictate their choices. They move impulsively, believing that immediate action is necessary. The Stoic does not. They know that sometimes the most powerful move is to do nothing at all. By withholding reaction, they control the flow of events rather than being controlled by them. This mastery also prevents unnecessary exposure. Many seek attention by constantly broadcasting their thoughts, their plans, their ambitions. They announce their goals, their strategies, their next moves. This makes them easy to predict, easy to anticipate, easy to block. The Stoic approach is the opposite. They do not reveal what they are building. They do not announce what they are thinking. They move in silence, revealing only what is necessary when it is too late to be stopped. This also applies to personal relationships. Many people share too much too soon, believing that full transparency creates deeper connections. But the truth is that overexposure weakens attraction, weakens trust, weakens influence. The Stoic understands that mystery is power. When everything is revealed immediately, interest fades. When thoughts, emotions, and intentions are held back selectively, others remain engaged, drawn in, constantly seeking to understand more. Another advantage of withholding is that it forces others to reveal themselves first. Those who speak too soon give away their position before they understand the environment. The Stoic method is to observe first, to let others speak, to gather information while revealing nothing. This ensures that they always know more than those around them, that they can make calculated decisions rather than impulsive ones. This form of restraint also creates leverage in negotiation. Many people sabotage themselves by revealing their needs too quickly, by exposing their desires, by making it obvious what they want. This makes them easy to manipulate. The Stoic approach is to say less, to wait, to let the other side speak first. When they do, their weaknesses become clear, their priorities are exposed, their leverage is diminished. The one who withholds gains control over the situation. Mastering this art also eliminates the fear of awkwardness. Many speak excessively because they fear silence. They believe they must fill the gap to keep a conversation going, to avoid discomfort, to prevent tension. But true confidence comes from being comfortable in silence. The Stoic does not fear pauses. They do not rush to break them. They let them sit, let others feel the weight of their presence, let control shift to them naturally. This control also applies to emotional restraint. Many people let their frustrations, fears, and doubts be known immediately, exposing their state of mind to those who could use it against them. The Stoic holds back. They do not express anger when provoked. They do not show distress when challenged. They do not reveal uncertainty when unsure. This makes them unreadable, impossible to manipulate, impossible to weaken. Withholding also enhances personal influence. Those who speak constantly become noise. Those who speak only when necessary become a voice that is heard. The less one speaks, the more each word matters. When the Stoic speaks, people listen, not because they demand attention, but because they have trained others to recognize that their words are always intentional. This restraint also prevents regret. Many people suffer because they say things in the heat of the moment, words they cannot take back, confessions they wish they had withheld. The Stoic method eliminates this entirely. They never speak without thinking, never react emotionally, Never give away words that can be used against them. This ensures that every sentence is precise, every statement purposeful, every word an asset rather than a liability. This approach is also a key to maintaining control in high-pressure situations. Many break under stress because they reveal too much: panic, frustration, or fear. The Stoic holds their composure, never allowing their inner state to be seen. This creates a perception of absolute control, a presence that cannot be shaken, an authority that commands respect. At its highest level, mastering the art of withholding creates an aura of mystery, power, and control. It removes all excess, leaving only what is necessary. It eliminates the need for approval, ensuring that presence alone is enough. It prevents manipulation, ensuring that no weakness is ever exposed. It creates an influence that is unshakable, an impact that is undeniable, a power that is silent but absolute. This is why the Stoics were untouchable. They did not seek to impress with words. They did not react emotionally. They did not explain themselves unnecessarily. They understood that what is withheld is often more powerful than what is revealed. Their strength did not come from what they said. It came from what they chose not to say. Their influence did not come from constant action. It came from the restraint to act only when necessary. This is the ultimate form of control, the ability to move without announcing, to decide without hesitation, to speak only when it serves a purpose. Those who master this skill do not need to prove their power. Their power is already known because they have mastered the art of withholding. Mastering the art of withholding removes unnecessary speech, eliminates wasted energy, and amplifies presence. It ensures that every action is intentional, that nothing is done out of impulse, that every word and movement serves a purpose. But there's another enemy of efficiency, a force that drains potential, weakens discipline, and delays success: procrastination. The greatest plans mean nothing if they are never executed. The most powerful ideas are worthless if they remain trapped in hesitation. The Stoics understood this deeply, which is why they developed a simple but unbreakable formula to obliterate procrastination overnight. Most people believe that procrastination is a motivation problem. They wait to feel ready, expecting inspiration to push them forward. But waiting for motivation is a trap. It is unreliable, inconsistent, and outside of control. The Stoics did not rely on feelings to take action. They had a different approach, one that made hesitation impossible, one that forced movement before doubt could take hold. The key to destroying procrastination is not to think less, but to think differently. The mistake most people make is that they allow themselves too much time to decide. They debate, hesitate, analyze, and overthink. This is how the mind tricks itself into inaction. The longer something is delayed, the harder it becomes to start. The Stoic solution is simple: shrink the gap between decision and action until hesitation has no room to exist. The brain follows patterns. If hesitation is reinforced repeatedly, it becomes automatic. If immediate action is practiced, it becomes second nature. The Stoics trained themselves to act before the mind had a chance to interfere. They knew that once the body was in motion, resistance faded. Most people waste energy debating whether to begin. The Stoics removed this step entirely. Another powerful part of this formula is separating emotion from action. Many delay tasks because they do not feel like doing them, but waiting to feel like working is the reason most fail to execute consistently. The Stoic approach removes emotion from the equation completely. Whether an action is enjoyable or not is irrelevant. Whether there is motivation or not does not matter. The only thing that matters is whether it needs to be done. If the answer is yes, action follows immediately. This method eliminates the negotiation that weakens willpower. Many fall into the trap of debating with themselves, searching for reasons to delay, allowing excuses to form. The Stoic does not engage in internal bargaining. They do not allow their mind to create unnecessary complexity. The rule is simple. If something must be done, do it now, not later, not when it feels right. Now, most fail to take action because they assign too much weight to tasks. They build them up in their minds, making them seem larger and more overwhelming than they are. The Stoic solution is to remove all unnecessary thought and strip the task down to its simplest form. Instead of thinking about the full scope of what must be done, they start with the smallest possible step. They train the mind to focus only on beginning, knowing that momentum will take care of the rest. This eliminates the paralysis of perfectionism. Many hesitate because they fear doing something incorrectly, making a mistake, or not performing at the highest level. The Stoic does not concern themselves with perfection. They know that starting badly is better than not starting at all. They act with speed, allowing improvement to come naturally through repetition. Another reason procrastination dominates is that people underestimate the power of time. They assume that small delays are harmless, that waiting a little longer will not make a difference. But small hesitations accumulate. They create habits of avoidance, reinforcing inaction until it becomes a way of life. The Stoic knows that every delay is training the mind to accept procrastination as normal. The more something is postponed, the harder it becomes to break the pattern. To destroy hesitation forever, the Stoic formula focuses on making action effortless. Most people try to force productivity through sheer willpower. This fails because willpower is finite. It weakens with time. The Stoics avoided this entirely by turning execution into an automatic response. They removed resistance by eliminating the decision phase completely. One of the simplest but most powerful Stoic techniques is the 2-second rule. If something needs to be done, action must begin within 2 seconds. No thought, no debate, no mental preparation, just movement. This conditions the mind to default to action rather than delay. The more this is repeated, the more natural it becomes. Hesitation is no longer an option because there is no space for it to exist. Another method they used was pre-deciding tasks before the moment arrived. Many struggle with procrastination because they leave decisions to the last moment, allowing excuses to arise. The Stoic did not wait until the day began to decide what needed to be done. They made their choices in advance, ensuring that action was already determined before resistance could form. The mental framing of tasks also plays a role in eliminating hesitation. Most people see tasks as obligations, as burdens that require effort. The Stoic views them differently. They see action as a privilege, as proof of their strength, as an opportunity to exercise control over the mind. They do not complain about tasks. They see them as training. This removes resistance because the way they perceive work is different. Another core element of this system is detaching identity from procrastination. Many convince themselves that they are naturally lazy, that they have always been a procrastinator, that action is difficult for them. The Stoic does not tolerate these beliefs. They do not identify with weakness. They train their mind to see action as who they are, not something they must force themselves to do. This identity shift makes procrastination impossible because the mind no longer sees it as an option. The Stoics also knew the power of self-imposed deadlines. Many fail to take action because they assume time is unlimited. They believe they can always do something later. The Stoic formula removes this illusion. They impose immediate deadlines on themselves, ensuring that there is always urgency attached to their tasks. This forces movement before hesitation can interfere. This method also removes the mistake of overestimating how much time is needed. Many avoid tasks because they assume they will take too long, that they require more effort than they actually do. The Stoic breaks this illusion by committing to short bursts of immediate effort. They do not wait for a large window of time. They act in whatever time is available, knowing that even the smallest action is enough to break inertia. Another crucial part of obliterating procrastination is rejecting comfort. Many delay action because their environment makes it easy to do so. They sit in comfortable positions, surrounded by distractions, allowing themselves the luxury of postponement. The Stoic method eliminates this by creating a mental and physical environment where action is the default. They remove distractions. They design surroundings that make work inevitable. They train themselves to be slightly uncomfortable, never too relaxed, never too passive. At its core, the Stoic approach to procrastination is not about working harder. It is about thinking differently. It is about eliminating the need for motivation, removing the possibility of hesitation, rewiring the mind to default to movement rather than delay. This is why the Stoics were relentless in execution. They did not wait to feel like working. They did not allow their minds to debate. They did not tolerate inaction. This method is what separates those who achieve effortlessly from those who struggle with execution. The mind is either trained for action or trained for hesitation. Every choice reinforces one or the other. The Stoic system makes hesitation impossible by eliminating the opportunity for delay. It does not rely on willpower. It does not require discipline. It turns movement into an automatic, unstoppable force. This is how procrastination is obliterated overnight. The rule is simple. If it needs to be done, do it now, not later, not after motivation arrives. Now, the mind adapts to what it is repeatedly trained to do. The more this is reinforced, the more automatic it becomes. This is why the Stoic did not struggle with hesitation. Their minds were not programmed for delay. They were programmed for immediate, decisive action, and that is why they never lost momentum. Hesitation dies when action becomes automatic. The mind no longer negotiates with itself, no longer seeks comfort, no longer allows resistance to grow. But there is another form of hesitation, one that is deeper, more corrosive, more subtle. It is the hesitation caused not by inaction, but by attachment to outcomes. People are paralyzed not just by the fear of starting, but by the fear of what might happen afterward. They worry about results, fear failure, obsess over control, and let uncertainty dictate their emotions. This is why many remain stuck, not because they lack effort, but because their minds are burdened with expectations. The Stoics had a solution. It was called morning indifference training, a practice that erased anxiety before it could take hold and made them unstoppable in every action. Most believe that anxiety is something that happens to them, that doubt is a natural reaction to uncertainty, but anxiety is a trained response, a habit formed by over-identifying with results. The mind attaches itself to what it wants and then creates suffering in advance by fearing loss, rejection, or failure. The Stoic approach destroys this cycle by removing the attachment itself. It does not fight anxiety, it makes it impossible to arise. The mistake most people make is thinking that confidence comes from predicting good outcomes. They try to reassure themselves by believing everything will work out, that things will go as planned, that success is guaranteed. But this is weak. It makes confidence conditional. The Stoic does not operate this way. Their confidence does not come from expecting things to go well. It comes from knowing that outcomes do not matter. They wake up each day knowing that whatever happens, they will remain the same. This removes all fear because there is nothing to lose. Most hesitation comes from the false belief that control is necessary. People think they must ensure success before acting, that they must eliminate all risks, that they must have certainty before moving forward. This is why they delay, why they worry, why they become trapped in hesitation. But control is an illusion. The Stoic mindset does not waste energy trying to manipulate outcomes. It accepts whatever happens fully, without resistance, without frustration. This creates an unshakable advantage. Those who are detached move faster, act with precision, and are immune to failure because they never expect anything to begin with. This level of indifference does not mean passivity. It does not mean apathy. The Stoic still executes at the highest level, still makes calculated moves, still prepares for challenges, but they do so without emotional investment in results. They train themselves to act with full effort, full discipline, full commitment, but without attachment. This ensures that no setback, no disappointment, no failure can ever shake them. They are not motivated by winning or discouraged by losing. They are driven only by the process itself. Morning indifference. Training begins before the day even starts. Many wake up with anxiety already present, with their minds racing through the tasks ahead, with stress building before they even leave their bed. The Stoic does not allow this. The first thought of the day is not, "What will happen today?" but "Nothing that happens today can affect me." This rewires the brain before stress can take hold. The problem most people face is that they allow their emotional state to be dictated by expectations. If things go well, they feel good. If things go poorly, they feel bad. This makes them fragile, easily thrown off balance, easily manipulated by circumstances. The Stoic does not ride this wave. They train their mind to expect nothing, to need nothing, to depend on nothing. They wake up every day with the same thought: I do not control outcomes. I only control myself. This eliminates fear, removes doubt, and ensures that no matter what happens, their focus remains unshaken. Another key to this training is rejecting the need for approval. Many people wake up already wondering how others will perceive them, whether they will be judged, whether they will be accepted. This weakens them before they even begin the day. The Stoic method removes this entirely. The only measure of success is whether they acted in alignment with their principles. Nothing else matters. This ensures that no external force can shake their confidence. This practice also eliminates fear of failure. Most hesitate because they are afraid of making mistakes, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of not meeting expectations. The Stoic removes this by accepting failure as part of the process. They train their minds to see setbacks not as obstacles, but as irrelevant details. They do not label events as good or bad. They simply are. This neutrality allows them to move forward where others hesitate. Another advantage of this training is unshakable emotional stability. Many people are controlled by how they feel in the moment. If they are in a good mood, they take action. If they are in a bad mood, they hesitate, complain, or avoid challenges. The Stoic approach does not allow this inconsistency. They wake up each day without relying on emotions to dictate their actions. They act regardless of how they feel. This creates a rare kind of freedom, one where they are no longer prisoners of their moods. Most self-doubt comes from comparing oneself to others. People hesitate because they measure their progress against external standards, against what others have achieved, against unrealistic expectations. The Stoic removes this by focusing entirely on internal mastery. They do not concern themselves with how they compare to others. They concern themselves only with how they measure up to their own discipline. This eliminates envy, insecurity, and hesitation in an instant. Morning indifference. Training also strengthens focus and productivity. Many waste energy throughout the day worrying about what might happen, replaying conversations in their heads, stressing over things beyond their control. This weakens performance. The Stoic clears this out before the day even begins. They start with the simple truth: none of it matters. My only task is to execute. This removes distractions, allowing for pure, uninterrupted focus. Another key element of this practice is accepting chaos without resistance. Most people struggle with uncertainty, trying to force order onto situations they cannot control. This leads to frustration, wasted time, and unnecessary stress. The Stoic approach is different. They embrace disorder, knowing that life is unpredictable, knowing that control is an illusion. They do not resist chaos. They move through it without being affected by it. This mindset also eliminates the need for comfort. Many hesitate because they seek to avoid discomfort, choosing easy paths, delaying difficult decisions. The Stoic rejects this weakness. They wake up knowing that hardship will come, that challenges will arise, that adversity is part of the path. But instead of fearing it, they accept it fully. This removes hesitation entirely. One of the most overlooked parts of this practice is neutralizing external praise and criticism. Many people are motivated by recognition, seeking validation for their work. But this makes them weak, dependent on approval. The Stoic does not operate this way. They do not seek applause, and they do not fear judgment. They act because it is right, not because it will be rewarded. This ensures that their confidence remains steady, unshaken by the opinions of others. At its highest level, morning indifference training creates absolute freedom. No fear of failure, no attachment to success, no hesitation, no self-doubt, no reliance on motivation, just pure execution, driven by nothing but the will to act. This is why the Stoics were unstoppable. They did not waste time worrying about what might happen. They did not allow emotions to control their choices. They did not seek comfort, approval, or certainty. They simply woke up, accepted whatever the day would bring, and acted with full force, without hesitation, without fear, without expectation. This is the mindset that makes a person unbreakable. The moment they stop needing anything, they become unstoppable. The moment they detach from outcomes, they move with absolute confidence. The moment they train their mind to be indifferent to everything except execution, they gain a power that no force can challenge. This is morning indifference training, the rare practice that separates those who hesitate from those who dominate. The secret is simple. Nothing matters except what you do next. And once this is mastered, no setback, no failure, no outcome will ever hold power again. Detaching from outcomes creates a level of mental freedom that is rare. It eliminates hesitation, dissolves fear, and removes the emotional instability that weakens most people. But there is one area where attachment runs deeper than almost anything else: money. People are trapped by it, controlled by it, either chasing it obsessively or fearing its absence. Wealth is treated as a source of power, yet it enslaves those who do not understand it. The Stoics saw this clearly. They knew that money itself is neutral, that it is neither good nor evil, that its power depends entirely on the mind that controls it. Those who worship wealth are weak. Those who fear wealth are weak. Those who master their relationship with wealth are Stoic millionaires, individuals who have absolute control over money rather than being controlled by it. Most people are conditioned to view money emotionally. They either crave it with desperation or reject it with guilt. This makes them vulnerable. Those who obsess over wealth are never satisfied, no matter how much they accumulate. Those who resent wealth push it away, sabotaging their own potential. Both extremes stem from the same problem: attachment. The Stoic millionaire has no attachment to money. They do not fear losing it. They do not need more of it. They do not rely on it for happiness. This detachment allows them to move freely, to make financial decisions without greed or hesitation, to build wealth without being trapped by it. The foundation of this mindset is seeing money as a tool, not an identity. Many define themselves by their financial status. They feel powerful when they have wealth and insecure when they lack it. This is weakness. The Stoic does not base their worth on external numbers. Their self-value remains the same whether their bank account is full or empty. They do not allow money to control their emotions. They remain indifferent to financial fluctuations because they know that true power comes from the mind, not material possessions. Most people either hoard money out of fear or spend recklessly out of impulse. Neither leads to true financial strength. The Stoic millionaire follows a different rule. Control over wealth comes from control over desire. Those who are slaves to spending are just as weak as those who are paralyzed by saving. Both are ruled by attachment. The key is to own money without letting it own you. The Stoic does not deny themselves what is useful, nor do they indulge in excess. They remove emotional impulses from financial decisions, making choices based only on logic and necessity. This mindset also eliminates fear of financial loss. Many hesitate to take risks because they are afraid of losing what they have. But fear of loss is what prevents growth. The Stoic does not fear loss because they have already trained their mind to need nothing. They understand that money can be regained, that resources can be rebuilt, that wealth is not permanent. This detachment makes them bold. They make strong decisions because they do not let fear dictate their actions. Another critical part of this approach is rejecting social conditioning about wealth. Most people absorb beliefs about money from their environment: parents, media, society, all of which create mental limitations. They are taught that money is difficult to obtain, that financial success is tied to luck, that only certain types of people can be wealthy. These beliefs create a subconscious barrier that keeps people stuck. The Stoic millionaire does not accept inherited mental chains. They break them. They see money as neutral energy, something that flows based on strategy, not superstition. Most financial stress comes from attachment to lifestyle. People trap themselves in unnecessary expenses, believing they must maintain a certain image, live in a certain way, own specific things. This creates dependency. The Stoic removes this weakness by detaching from material identity. They do not feel the need to prove their success through luxury. They do not seek validation through possessions. They live below their means by choice, not because they have to, but because it keeps them free. This ensures that they never feel financially trapped, that they always have leverage, that they never make decisions out of financial desperation. The Stoic millionaire also avoids the illusion of scarcity. Many believe that money is limited, that opportunities are rare, that financial success is a matter of luck. This scarcity mindset creates hesitation, fear, and inaction. The Stoic sees through this illusion. They understand that wealth is created, not taken. They know that money is not a fixed resource, but a reflection of value exchanged. This allows them to operate with abundance, to seek opportunity rather than avoid risk, to expand their financial potential without hesitation. Another core principle of this mindset is mastering financial patience. Most people chase quick gains, looking for shortcuts, seeking immediate gratification. This leads to impulsive decisions, to gambling rather than investing, to financial ruin disguised as opportunity. The Stoic millionaire plays the long game. They understand that wealth compounds over time, that small daily choices determine financial destiny, that consistency beats speed in every form of success. This patience prevents costly mistakes, ensuring that their financial position is always secure and growing. This approach also eliminates emotional spending. Many waste money not because they need to, but because they are reacting to stress, boredom, or insecurity. They seek temporary pleasure through purchases, using money as a distraction rather than a tool. The Stoic does not allow this weakness. They control their spending as they control their mind, with absolute discipline. Every financial decision is intentional, aligned with long-term stability, never dictated by fleeting emotions. One of the most powerful shifts in this mindset is removing the idea that wealth equals happiness. Many believe that financial success will solve all problems, that reaching a certain number will bring peace. But those who rely on money for fulfillment are never satisfied. The Stoic millionaire understands that wealth can enhance life, but never define it. They ensure that their mental stability comes first, that their emotional balance is independent of financial fluctuations. This ensures that they never feel empty, never feel lost, never chase money as a substitute for meaning. This mindset also removes jealousy and comparison. Many suffer financially not because they lack resources, but because they waste energy competing with others. They measure success by external standards, trying to match the lifestyle of those around them, living beyond their means to keep up appearances. The Stoic has no interest in comparison. They do not concern themselves with how others spend, with what others own, with proving their worth. Their financial discipline is personal. Their goals are internal. This prevents waste, ensures stability, and keeps them focused on real wealth, not surface-level illusion. Another crucial element of this approach is financial adaptability. Most people are fragile in their wealth. They rely on a single income source, a specific career path, an economy that remains stable. When disruption comes, they panic. The Stoic millionaire does not allow this weakness. They build multiple streams of security, always prepared for change, always ready to adjust without fear. This makes them financially anti-fragile, able to benefit from uncertainty rather than suffer from it. This mindset also ensures that they never trade time for money. Many people become slaves to their income, sacrificing all freedom in pursuit of more. The Stoic millionaire does not chase money blindly. They structure their wealth so that their time remains their own. They prioritize leverage, investment, and autonomy over temporary gains. This ensures that financial success leads to independence, not imprisonment. At its highest level, this mindset removes all fear of financial instability. There is no stress about market crashes, no panic over lost income, no dependence on any single source of money. The Stoic millionaire has trained their mind to remain the same, no matter their financial status. They know that they can rebuild anything, that resources are always available, that their ability to adapt is their greatest wealth. This makes them invincible, because no financial loss can shake them. This is why the Stoics were immune to poverty and wealth alike. They never allowed money to define them. They built financial strength not through greed, not through fear, but through absolute detachment. They mastered wealth by removing its power over them. They lived with financial discipline, but never financial desperation. They understood that money is not the goal, freedom is. This is the Stoic millionaire mindset, a way of seeing wealth that eliminates stress, removes weakness, and builds absolute financial control. It does not chase money. It does not fear loss. It does not need external proof of success. It is a mind that remains unshaken by economic change, by gain or loss, by financial pressure. And once mastered, money stops being an obstacle, stops being a source of stress, stops being something to fear. It becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool, nothing more. Wealth is nothing without time. Money can be regained, possessions can be replaced, but time never returns. This is why the Stoics never saw financial success as the ultimate measure of power. True power comes from understanding that every second matters, that wasting time is the greatest failure, that delaying action is the greatest weakness, that assuming there will always be another opportunity is the greatest illusion. Most people live as if time is endless. They postpone what matters, put off what should be said, wait for the right moment that never arrives. The last time principle destroys this illusion. It forces the mind to recognize a brutal truth. Every moment could be the last. Most fear death, not because they are afraid of dying, but because they are afraid of having never truly lived. They delay decisions, thinking they will always have time. They stay in the wrong environments, believing there will be a better moment to leave. They suppress their emotions, assuming there will be another day to express them. This is how people lose life, not all at once, but in small daily hesitations that accumulate into a lifetime of regret. The Stoic solution is to never delay what must be done, to treat every interaction, every opportunity, every second as if it will never come again. Because one day that will be true. Most hesitate because they assume there will always be another time, another chance to start the business, another opportunity to say what they mean, another day to enjoy what is in front of them. But the mind must be trained to remove this assumption. The future is not guaranteed. The only certainty is now. When this truth is deeply internalized, hesitation dies. Actions become immediate. Words become intentional. Time is no longer wasted because it is no longer seen as unlimited. The greatest regrets come not from what was done, but from what was never attempted. The business idea that stayed an idea, the apology that was never given, the relationship that was lost to indecision, the dreams that remained only thoughts. People do not fear failure. They fear realizing too late that they never acted at all. This is why the last time principle is so powerful. It removes the luxury of postponement. It forces the mind to recognize that this moment is the only one that is real. Most relationships suffer not from lack of love, but from the assumption that there will always be time. Time to reconnect, time to repair damage, time to be present. But relationships break not from major events, but from small neglects that build over years. The Stoic mindset corrects this by ensuring that every interaction is treated as if it might be the last. Conversations become meaningful. Gratitude is expressed without delay. Time with loved ones is never wasted on distractions. This prevents the most painful regret, the realization that the last moment was taken for granted. Success is also lost in the same way, not through failure, but through indefinite delay. People convince themselves that they will pursue their ambitions later, when conditions are better, when they feel ready. But life does not wait. The opportunity in front of them right now will not remain. The chance to take action right now will not return. The more time is taken for granted, the more potential is wasted. The Stoic perspective ensures that this mistake is never made. It does not allow decisions to be delayed. It does not tolerate hesitation. It forces movement because it knows that there is no later, only now. Most never grasp this truth because they are addicted to comfort. They avoid urgency because they do not want to face reality. They pretend there is time so they do not have to make difficult choices. But the Stoic does not seek comfort. They seek clarity. And clarity comes from accepting that life is happening right now, not in some distant future. The last time principle is not about fearing death. It is about using the certainty of mortality as fuel to live with full intensity. Most people do not experience boredom because life lacks excitement. They experience boredom because they assume they will always have another chance to enjoy what is in front of them. They scroll through their phones, letting conversations pass. They go through routines mindlessly, assuming tomorrow will be the same. They do not truly see the people around them because they believe they will always be there. The Stoic mindset breaks this illusion. It reminds them that every interaction, every experience, every second is non-refundable. This forces awareness. It eliminates distraction. It makes even the smallest moments meaningful. The reason most fail to take risks is because they believe they have time to be careful. They hesitate because they think they can always try later. But certainty kills action. Those who believe they will live forever never act with urgency. The Stoic does the opposite. They live as if this is the only chance. They do not hesitate because they know hesitation is just a slow form of self-destruction. They do not delay because they know delay is the same as surrender. Fear of failure is meaningless when time is seen as limited. Most are afraid of looking foolish, afraid of making mistakes, afraid of imperfection. But when every moment is the last, these fears vanish. No one will care about the mistakes made decades from now. No one will remember the failures. The only thing that will remain is whether action was taken or not. The Stoic removes fear by removing the illusion of unlimited time. When nothing is guaranteed, there is nothing to fear. Another mistake most make is believing they must feel ready before they act. This keeps them frozen, trapped in preparation, waiting for the perfect conditions that never arrive. The last time principle eliminates this entirely. It does not ask if the moment is right. It does not allow doubt to interfere. It forces immediate execution because it knows that waiting for readiness is the same as waiting for permission that will never come. This mindset also destroys resentment. Many people live trapped in past conflicts, holding on to grudges, wasting energy on anger. They act as if they have time to stay mad, time to stay bitter, time to feed their own suffering. But If they knew that their last conversation with someone was truly the last, would they waste it on conflict? Would they hold back forgiveness? Would they let pride block reconciliation? The Stoic does not let trivial emotions consume precious moments. They release resentment before it is too late. Most people avoid thinking about death because they think it is depressing, but avoiding truth does not make life better. It only makes it weaker. The Stoic embraces it fully. They meditate on mortality daily, not to feel fear, but to ensure that every second is used with purpose. This removes pettiness, removes hesitation, removes the false belief that there is always time. It makes them fearless because there is nothing to lose when nothing is guaranteed. One of the greatest advantages of this mindset is unshakable presence. Most people are mentally somewhere else, thinking about the future, stuck in the past, never fully in the moment. They listen without hearing. They speak without meaning. They exist without being present. The Stoic does not allow this. They see everything, feel everything, experience everything fully, because they know that this could be the last time. At its highest level, this mindset removes all regret. The only reason people feel regret is because they assumed they had more time. They thought they could wait. They believed they could fix things later. But once time is gone, nothing can be changed. The Stoic ensures that regret is impossible by never postponing what must be said, what must be done, what must be felt. Every interaction is complete. Every action is decisive. Every second is lived without hesitation. This is why the Stoics were fearless. They were not afraid of loss, not afraid of failure, not afraid of the unknown. They knew that life does not wait. They knew that every day was a gift that could be gone tomorrow. They lived accordingly. They did not assume there would be another chance. They took every chance as if it were the last. This is the last time principle, the mindset that removes fear, eliminates hesitation, and forces life to be lived fully. Once mastered, it makes the impossible possible. It removes distractions, breaks the illusion of endless time, and ensures that nothing is wasted, nothing is delayed, nothing is left unsaid. It makes every second matter, because the truth is, it already does. Everything you need to transform has always been within you. The mind is not fixed. Identity is not permanent. Every belief, every hesitation, every weakness can be rewritten. The Stoics understood this. They mastered the power of the subconscious, training their minds even in sleep, forging discipline while resting, eliminating fear before it could take root. You have now unlocked the blueprint for self-reinvention. You know how to program resilience overnight, how to wake up with a new identity, how to erase hesitation before it starts. You've discovered the invisible Stoic method, the power of detachment, the unshakable energy shield that makes criticism and betrayal meaningless. You've learned how to move without announcing, how to speak less and gain more, how to outlast everyone and win by sheer endurance. You're no longer at the mercy of fear, procrastination, or social pressure. You're now in control. But knowledge without action is nothing. The shift happens only when you apply it. Tonight, when you close your eyes, let these principles sink into your subconscious. Let your mind recode itself. And when you wake up, don't hesitate. Move, decide, act. Become the person who no longer waits, no longer doubts, no longer asks permission to evolve. Now, here's something important. Drop a comment below and tell me, which principle hit you the hardest? What's the one Stoic mindset shift you're committing to starting tonight? I want to see who's serious about applying this knowledge. And if you're ready to keep sharpening your mind, to keep leveling up, Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. The next level is waiting. Are you